our committee, either committee 1, 2, 3, or 4, and this can be done via the Zoom chat. So with this, I'd like to hand over to you, Fadira, for any opening remarks.
Thank you, Farah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fadira Mediana, and I am the President of International Law Moot Court Society of the Faculty of Law of Universitas Indonesia. I hope that everyone stays safe and healthy during this pandemic. First, I would like to thank Bang Dioputra Ilham Oepangat and Bang Rizki Karim from KarimSyah Law Firm for their crucial role in making this webinar happen. Second, I would also like to thank and welcome our friends from the International Law Societies of Universitas Gadjah Mada, Universitas Airlangga, Universitas Pelita Harapan, Universitas Pajajaran, and Universitas Prasetya Mulia for their partnership with us. The International Law Moot Court Society is excited to have you all here today with us, and I hope we can have a fruitful discussion together. Farah, I'll give the floor back to you.
Thank you, Fadira, for your opening remarks. I'm sure the participants are already eager to start the discussion. So please welcome our moderator for today, Daniel. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Farah. Thank you, Fadira. Hi, thank you everyone for attending. Good afternoon from Bali. Nice to see you all, and I hope everybody's safe. My name is Daniel Nicholas Pakpahan, as I introduced earlier. I am your moderator for today. For those of you who don't know me, I am a final year law student at FHUI, Fakultas Hukum Universitas Indonesia, and the vice president of ILMS FH UI. I am a moot court enthusiast, or a nerd, if you will. I have participated in around 5 different competitions with background in public international law and commercial dispute resolution, and I do several coaching gigs in between. Today's webinar is titled Debunking the Myths of Lawyering and Practical Truths After Law School. It's a collaboration between ILMS FH and KarimSyah Law Firm. So personally, coming from someone who have never worked in a law firm or experienced working in a law firm, this is something that I'm really waiting for. And a bit of a disclaimer, jadi buat kalian yang udah ngikutin ILMS webinar sebelum-sebelumnya, for this webinar, we will conduct it quite differently from the previous editions. Today's webinar is not intended to be a lecture or a one-way workshop. Kayak judul webinarnya, ini bakal lebih ke sesi curhat-curhat santai with law graduates who have experience working in various fields of legal practice. Karena kita bakal ngomongin tentang lawyering di Indonesia specifically, kita coba supaya nggak terlalu Inggris-Inggris banget lah ya di webinar ini, digado aja, oke? Okay? A message from the speakers, katanya supaya lebih interaktif dan nggak ngebosenin, participants boleh tanya langsung ke speakers kita. You can turn on your cam and use the mic function or any way you prefer. Please notify through the chat box if you want to ask directly, or use the raise hand button and only speak after I give you the green light, so we don't interrupt each other, okay? Feel free buat kasih pertanyaan during and throughout the presentation. Please jangan jaim, because it's gonna be a casual discussion. Kita nggak expect buat terlalu formal, so I hope it's gonna be fun and engaging for all of us. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers today. Speaker pertama kita adalah Dioputra Ilham Oepangat, alumnus dari Fakultas Hukum Universitas Indonesia dan associate at KarimSyah Law Firm. He practices primarily in dispute resolution, but also some corporate matters. Gue gak bakal terlalu detail about this work karena bakal jadi bagian dari his sharing too. Ilham is also an avid mooter and experienced coach for the UI Vismoot teams and arbitration as well as mediation competitions. Speaker kedua kita, we have Rizki Karim, atau lebih sering dipanggil Kiki, alumnus dari Fakultas Hukum Universitas Gadjah Mada dan associate at KarimSyah Law Firm. He has also a very diverse portfolio and experience in dispute resolution, among others, which he will also share more later. Kiki is also a very experienced mooter and coach for the Universitas Gadjah Mada Vismoot and FDI Moot teams. So Ilham and Kiki, thank you very much for being with us today. I think I can hand it over to you to kick off the discussion. Untuk waktu dan tempatnya, saya persilahkan.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Wait, is Kiki here? Yes, Kiki. So first of all, to ILMS FH UI, thank you for having us, KarimSyah Law Firm. It's a pleasure to be here and to share with you a little bit about what we, and I would say just, our group of friends have learned over the years practicing law. And without further ado, let me just share the screen here. All right. Lawyering in Indonesia after law school, debunking myths and practical truths. You know, like we previously, Daniel had said, ya kita bakal gado-gado, jadi kita campur-campur bahasa Inggris, bahasa Indonesia, biar agak lebih santai. Cuman what we thought was behind this this topic adalah there are a lot of misconceptions kalau kita ngomongin abis lulus tuh bisa ngapain sebetulnya. What is it to expect? Apalagi ya ini terkhusus untuk sphere lawyer gitu. Okay. Kiki, you might want to introduce yourself first.
Hi, thank you, Dio. Thank you, Daniel, and the whole committee for this opportunity. Buat teman-teman, rekan-rekan deh, perkenalkan nama gue, my name is Kiki, Rizki Karim, but yeah, everybody calls me Kiki these days. As introduced earlier by Daniel, I was from UGM, but now I'm working at KarimSyah Law Firm. Previously, I also had some experience in other law firms, although both not exactly in Indonesia. I interned at Eversheds Law Office in Singapore and also Clyde & Co. also in Singapore. So along the way, I could also give a perspective how it may be different working in an Indonesian law firm compared to foreign law firms. Although, of course, we will focus more on Indonesian law firm, but just for a perspective. Dio, you might want to introduce more about yourself now.
Yeah, sure. If I can get this slide working. Okay. Hi again. My name is Dioputra Ilham Oepangat. You can call me, to those who really know me, they call me Dio. Tapi I prefer Ilham actually. So yeah, as Kiki has introduced, I also work at KarimSyah Law Firm. Previously, I have had interned and worked at Ginting Rekso Diputro, Panji Prasetyo. I was the founder of Polite.id, which is more public policy. It's not really lawyering. Ketema Kadam, and now I'm at KarimSyah Law Firm. And Farah mentioned previously that presentasi ini akan sekitar 90 menit, tambah lagi nanti question and answer session. Kayaknya kita nggak akan sampai 90 menit. So I really rely on everybody to just, have a conversation with us. And if you do want to speak, you please let Daniel know in the chat box so we can have conversation. Nah, kita benar-benar santai kok. Ini bukan yang kayak seminar yang kayak ya hidupin kamera militer gitu. Enggak kok. Kita santai kok. All right. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into the main taboos or the main contentions. Yeah. What lawyering is not about. Okay. Yang pertama adalah big bucks. Ki, lu mau komen gak nih? Big bucks tuh.
Maksud lu big bucks apaan?
Maksud gue big bucks tuh ya a lot of when it comes to lawyering, what you see on TV, especially yang kayak Suits atau lu nonton macam-macam NCIS pas lu lihat ada prosecutor lawan lawyer, you see these like really like lawyer sabi yang mana-mana pakai jas, mobilnya bagus, apa yang kita assume adalah gajinya tinggi benar. Tapi namanya juga baru lulus dari perguruan tinggi hukum. I don't think necessarily this is, the case for us as lawyers, But I don't know, Kiki, what do you think? Like, do you think
it's very interesting, yeah, especially when I was in law school as well. Of course, everybody watches Suits. Waktu itu lagi season seru-serunya soalnya waktu kita kuliah kali ya. Sekarang udah tamat. Or Boston Legal or those American drama TV series which perceive lawyers as something very profesi yang katakanlah elite, katakanlah very professional looking, and to a certain extent it's true. mau gimana pun ya advokat kalau kita membahas di Indonesia adalah bagian dari penegak hukum gitu loh. Kalau nanti kalian udah selesai law school, terus melanjutkan menjadi lawyer, jadi advokat, kalian kan akan sering dengar istilah officium nubile, profesi yang sangat terhormat lah katakanlah. Jadi dari sisi itunya sih ada benernya gitu. Tapi kalau kita udah membandingkan dengan yang tadi Ilham sempat mention lah, TV series seperti Suits gitu, ya nggak 100% akurat juga ya hidup lawyer seperti itu. Apalagi kalau kita baru lulus, katakanlah. Dan kalau kita membicarakan mengenai, kita langsung to the point aja lah, namanya kita bekerja, kan mencari uang, mencari nafkah, mencari masa depan. Kita ngomongin ya big bucks gitu kan. Apakah menjadi lawyer itu adalah salah satu media yang bisa membantu kita mencari big bucks? Ya jawabannya adalah bisa sih, tapi jangan kira semudah itu. Jangan kira lu lulus fakultas hukum, you go to a law firm, and then immediately you can, earn big money in the beginning. Not exactly like that. Yeah, you have to work for it. Dan mungkin it will take a lot of years, depending on certain situations, depending on what kind of firms you're in, until you get to the economic situation that you wish that you have. Dan itulah yang kita akan bahas more comprehensively in this presentation. What is to expect from a career in lawyering, especially in the early years, which is right after graduation. Yeah, Ilham, you want to add more on this before we delve more into the technical aspects?
Well, yeah, I think ini yang 4 poin ini adalah something to keep in mind throughout the presentation. This is just like, kalau memo ini ya semacam skeleton kita. Yeah, but just keep in mind that these will be the things we will be talking about. Did we miss our disclaimer?
It should be there, right, in the above. Yeah, it's actually the first slide.
Okay.
It's the first slide. So it's right before our introduction. You should go back there. It's important.
Tak ada lah.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
Yeah, so as a disclaimer, this presentation is almost exclusively based on our own opinion, on our own experience, what we know, what we've gone through, what we see, and some also based on the experience of our friends or colleagues that have been shared to us. So please don't take this following presentation, our statements, as something of a legal advice or even a standard of lawyering in Indonesia. It's not. It's just what we know and what we like to share with you guys, just to have some perspectives. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Everything that we say.
Take it with a grain of salt, because this is just, jangan nanti kayak, oh ya, kata siapa kayak gini, oh kata Bang Dio, kata Bang Kiki, enggak. Okay, this is just our opinion. It's like a soft law lah. Okay.
Before you proceed,
yes.
Do you mind elaborating more on the qualification about graduation does not equal qualification in the earlier slide?
We have a specific slide nanti addressing that, in which we will delve more about kayak ya gelar dan kayak experience dan lain.
Siap. Sorry.
Okay, no worries, man. So first things first, lawyering categories. Okay. Before you apply to a firm or before you start working, I think it is very important atau sangat penting untuk kalian tahu itu law firmnya itu sebetulnya ngelakuin what practice. What practices are they involved in? Nah, practices generally all over the world itu bisa dibagi two kinds of practices. Yang pertama adalah contentious practice. Yaitu contentious tuh ya sama kayak it rhymes from the word contention. Jadi kalau lu punya argument contention against another, it's like an argument based practice. So you're talking about all the kinds of like litigation, arbitration, ADR, negotiation, mediation, or the halal version of ADR, musyawarah maybe. So this is more to where you are arguing or negotiating with another lawyer on behalf of your clients against their clients. So it's more kayak ya kalau bisa dibilang berantem ya mungkin agak lebih ke berantemnya sih gitu. Nggak yang ini yang kurs kalem gitu. Ya kalau non contentious practice tuh kayak gimana Ki?
Ya basically beda lawannya gitu kan. Yang nggak berantem. So non-contentious practice usually involves more of the exploration of the more technical and administrative issue of the law. So trying to get the law, compliance, making sure your perusahaan lo itu comply with all of the applicable laws. So that's non-contentious practice. Ya kita sering asimilasinya sama ya corporate lah. Ada corporate firm, ada dispute firm. Dispute firm itu ya lebih banyak melakukan contentious practice, dan kalau corporate itu lebih banyak melakukan non-contentious practice. Nah, on this matter, I want to make a comparison yang sedikit membedakan kita sama, for example, in England. If you ever learned about the English legal system, itu di sana lawyers are divided into two, like formally into two. You have barristers and you have solicitors. Barristers are those lawyers who go to court. They appear before the judges, they argue their arguments in court, whereas solicitors, they can't go to court generally. What they can do is they work behind the scene. They deal with papers, they deal with clients, tapi mereka nggak ke court sama sekali. Dan itu dibedakan. Like, you can't be both of them in the same time. You can't be barrister and solicitor in England in the same time. You choose one of the two. In Indonesia, it's not like that. So if you're thinking as a law student right now, I'm more comfortable in working behind the scene. Gue lebih suka pekerjaan-pekerjaan yang tidak melibatkan konfrontasi. Terus lo jadinya maunya cuman bekerja lawyering yang non-contentious. Well, you can't just pick like that, because once you are an advocate, kalau di Indonesia kan kita nggak ada istilah lawyer ya sebenarnya secara perundang-undangan, nggak ada istilah pengacara, adanya advokat. Ya itu kita memiliki kompetensi untuk practice all of legal services, either contentious atau non-contentious. Jadi it's not like you can avoid one of these two practices. Eventually, you will have to explore both of these practices. But you can choose specific law firms yang mungkin lebih kuat di one of these areas. There are some law firms who excel more in contentious practices. Tapi it doesn't mean berarti law firm ini dia jadi nggak ada non-contentious practices-nya ya. Tapi emang lebih banyak aja. Mungkin dia lebih fokusnya di litigasi. Tapi mau nggak mau, pasti ada percampuran dua hal ini. Gitu. Jadi jangan ngelihat di sini ada kategorisnya ada dua, mereka terpisah sehingga lu bisa milih satu for your career, lu mau fokus yang mana. Eventually you will have to deal with both. Kayak you can't just be a litigator, you can't be someone who handles arbitration cases without actually first familiarizing yourself with the whole corporate matters yang sebenarnya pastinya jadi background of the dispute itself. Jadi kira-kira gitu sih tambahan dari gua. Ham, you wanna add more on this?
Sebelum kita lanjut nih ada pertanyaan dari Sandy dari UI. Yang Sandy, do you wanna open your cam and ask away? Ini dia nanya ke Rizki.
Asking me if I know this person, which I don't. UGM is a big.
I just wonder if since Pak Rizki is a UGM alumni, I wonder if would you know Mr. Raffles Siregar, who is a UGM alumni, and I think he has his own practice now.
Oh well, hi Sandy. I don't know personally who Mr. Raffles Siregar is, and if he already has his own practice, I can only make an assumption that he's very much more senior than me. I don't know. He might be as, what batch was he from? I mean, I was batch 2013. So UGM is a big school. I'm not sure whether I know him personally. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I just wonder if you do know him. What's your perspective for a young lawyer to be able to own his own practice, his or her own practice? Yeah,
it's very interesting, and it is something that I've actually seen increasingly happening. What I want to say is, yang pertama nanti kita bakal bahas lebih lanjut sih. Tapi di Indonesia sebenarnya kalau mau jadi advokat, kalau kita udah ngomongin semudah apa lu bisa jadi advokat dan semudah apa lo patut atau dapat memiliki sebuah law firm, sebenarnya sih kuncinya itu cuman di undang-undang mengenai advokat yang memang memberikan persyaratan minimal umur itu 25 tahun. And most of law students, I guess, kalau baru lulus FH itu mungkin umurnya masih 22, 23. I don't know, beda-beda mungkin orang-orang ya. Ada juga yang udah lebih tua mungkin waktu lulus. So most of the time you can't actually start your own law firm immediately if you're not an advocate. But talking about how young you can be when it comes to starting your own firm, which is something I suppose I don't exactly know for sure. I haven't started my own firm. I don't think Dio also has not done that. Tapi ya, when it comes to lawyering kan, what you need is just clients basically. What you need is networking. What you need is trust from the people that you can actually do your work. And as long as you have that, I don't see any reason why you can't start early. Dan sekarang tuh udah lumayan banyak juga kan law firm yang dimulai sama lawyer-lawyer yang sekitar umurnya 29, 27 bahkan. Ya karena with the development of our sector, ya dengan segala perkembangan teknologi, sebenarnya yang muda-muda inilah yang katakanlah bisa lebih menguasai di sektor-sektor tertentu tentunya. Tapi ya lo nggak bisa mengesampingkan juga ya the importance of experience, all the old traditional big firms yang udah ada dari dulu. But we'll talk more about that later on. Dio, you want to add something on that? You want to start your own firms?
Yeah, well, if I put it this way, akhirnya we are a business, right? Law firms are a business. If you can generate and sustain business, then yeah, by all means gitu, like do it. As you fulfill the persyaratan advokat di bawah advokat, you have an in-stream of clients. Your clients are happy with you. They come back to you. They're not just one-off sekali legal opinion terus cabut. Then if you have that capability and you're able to run that business and ya menghidupi diri lo, then I don't see a reason why not. Cuman balik lagi, kalau diomongin itu it sounds very kayak oh iya gampang ya, selama gue bisa bawa klien, selama gue bisa keep mereka satisfied. Nah, keep mereka satisfied-nya itu tuh yang berat. Kenapa? Karena how are you going to keep them satisfied? Of course, with your experience, with your knowledge, with your approach to the law and how to implement it, how to delve within the law. So there are a lot of factors which come into it, and if you're able to do that at a younger age, then yeah, kudos to you. That's a very well job done gitu kalau lo berani. But on the other hand, sometimes you think, okay, I still need the bendera of my law firm which I work in. Yeah, sometimes others may choose to, I'm just gonna be a senior associate, for example, here at this law firm up until a time. But again, yeah, as Kiki said, we will delve into this further in our presentation. But with regards to this slide, satu hal yang perlu gue tekenin juga yang Kiki kita dibilang mostly arbitration ya, karena arbitration itu we're sometimes a lot of times dealing with very specialized disputes. Itu nggak mungkin sebagai contentious practice lawyer you don't understand the merits of it. Jadi contohnya the non-contentious practice of oil and gas contohnya, atau of energy, EPC contracts. So it is very important as well, not just to know the acara of each of the forums, litigation, arbitration, ADR, tapi ya benar-benar you have to know the substance juga. Gitu. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is something very fun to talk about, actually, if you're interested in like how a law firm works. So we have divided the law firms that we know into three main categories. First, we're talking about an independent national firm. Jadi fully owned and run by Indonesian advocates. There's no foreign affiliation or very limited. Or sometimes what you have adalah is a strategic partnership or an exclusive, let's say, an exclusive agreement for certain works, and is relatively smaller in size. But I gather that there are also a number of independent firms in Jakarta which are not foreign affiliated, but they still have like 30 to 60 lawyers. But by no means, I mean, what we have seen in the Jakarta trend, especially, if you're talking about 100 lawyers at a firm and above, it is a foreign affiliated or international firm. And there is good reason for that. Kenapa there is that many lawyers at international firms as in comparison to independent firms. And then we have foreign affiliated or international firms. So these, if you see a law firm which has contohnya Rizki dan Dio in association with apa gitu.
No, I think we can use a better example lah. These people, this audience are very smart. They know the difference between international firms and independent firms. Ya katakanlah Baker McKenzie gitu kan. They have an Indonesian firm di sini, HHP. That's an example of international firm. Atau AHP with Rajatan. That's an example of foreign affiliation that we're talking about. Jadi law firm Indonesia-nya ada, it's owned and run by Indonesian advocate, but they have an association with a foreign law firm. Dan foreign law firm ini bisa dalam artian dari negara lain, kayak contohnya dari Singapura, atau bisa juga yang emang udah global firm yang udah punya kantor across the world. Tapi association ini ada beda-bedanya juga. Nggak semua association with foreign law firm itu sama. Ada yang exclusive association, ada yang non-exclusive association, dan ada juga yang mungkin cuma sebatas they refer clients or refer works to each other, yang dari law firm Indonesianya ke law firm asingnya. Tapi yang kita pengen tekenin di sini ada independent law firms yang foreign affiliation-nya itu katakanlah nggak ada atau bahkan sangat-sangat terbatas. Dan ada international firms yang memang mereka dibilang international ini karena memiliki foreign affiliation yang mungkin memiliki presence yang globally. Tapi what we want to say is it does not mean independent national law firms itu does not deal with international clients or international elements. What is meant by that is ya tadi lagi-lagi cuman nggak ada affiliation with a foreign law firm aja, tapi independent.
Contohnya law firm kita lah. Contohnya law firm kita lah.
Yes. Baru mau nanya. KarimSyah gimana tuh?
Nah, KarimSyah kita termasuk yang independen ya, Ham ya. Kita
sangat independen.
Tapi of course kita juga bukannya nggak ada klien internasional atau international disputes. We also have them, gitu. So
dan justru lebih menurut gue sekarang the matters that I am handling itu mostly have international elements and they're mostly in English. So by no means bukan berarti you don't make it to a let's say international law firm, ya lu nggak, if you're at an independent firm, you don't do international work. Nah itu balik lagi ke apa? Ke the law firm itself sebetulnya. Gitu. Gimana Ki? Lu mau nambahin apa?
Jadi kalau menurut lo lebih enak kerja di independent law firms apa international firms? Lo kan udah banyak, lo kan juga pernah kerja di international firms.
Ya, alhamdulillah saya sangat bersyukur kerja di KarimSyah. Saya sangat senang. Harus hati-hati gue kalau ngomong soalnya Kiki atasan gue. Cuman, I'm just kidding. Oh, I'm very happy at my firm right now, and I'm like, for me, kenapa I chose to like work at an independent firm adalah because the general stimulus at working at an independent firm is that it is more flexible. It is more flexible in the sense that independent firms are not bound by standard operational procedures of the foreign firm, which might be their, so to speak, standardizer. Jadi kan kalau contohnya Baker McKenzie all over the world, servicesnya harus standardized. Maka daripada itu, they are bound to SOP-nya Baker McKenzie. Contohnya seperti itu. Kalau kita di KarimSyah, we are bound by the SOP, which is set by Pak Iswahyudi Karim, Pak Firmansyah, Pak Mirza Karim, and Karen Mills, which are my partners. And because it is smaller, the amount or the responsibility that you take up on for each matter, jadi setiap kali ada case atau ada project, you are more directly involved. Kalau gue merasanya personally seperti itu. Jadi contohnya, our teams are very small. Let's talk about, for example, the international arbitration team at KarimSyah. It is usually Ms. Karen Mills, Rizki Karim, myself, Rininta Ayunina, and then if there is like a litigation element, we have 2 other associates, maybe Mas Yudis, maybe Burita. But we are very small. What does that mean? If we're very small, if there is a very small team, your exposure towards the case is different, is bigger, as opposed to, for example, if you are in a really big firm or in an international firm, so to say, and you start, for example, at the level of intern, where the team is 8 sampai 9 orang, the exposure won't be as great as if you are at an independent or smaller firm. Gitu. That's from my perspective. And also, when it comes to flexibility, I guess you have a lot of room to find, but again, in between independent firms, it would also like sort of differ. Cuman what I can say at the independent firms that I have worked at, you get a lot of like flexibility in, okay, I want to build my legal argument towards this gitu. There's a lot of time to explore yourself karena juga orangnya sedikit. Atasan lu otomatis hierarkinya jadi lebih dikit, you have access to partners langsung. So you can discuss about like how you feel about the law in itself. Gitu. Kalau itu sih, itu perasaan gue ya Ki. Jadi that's just my personal
I agree.
opinion.
I think it's when comparing, say, independent firm and international firm, I like to use the comparison. Kalau international firms, you get more expensive exposure. Maksudnya apa? Ya, since the firm is relatively, ya, secara umum is usually bigger, it has more opportunities to deal with more variable of cases. Kasusnya lebih variatif gitu. Sedangkan independent firms relatively smaller, umumnya they're more centered into specific practices. Kayak mereka lebih specialized lah, like boutique firms gitu kan. Jadi when you're working in a big firm, you tend to have more exposure to more stuffs, more sectors, katakanlah kayak ada sektor ini, sektor itu, lu bisa dapat semuanya. Dan since there are so many lawyers in that one firm, you have more networking, you get to know more lawyers, you get to know more different kind of experience from your colleagues. Lebih expensive lah. Tapi what you get from independent firm is not expensive maybe, but it's more in depth. Because as Dio said earlier, walaupun mungkin lo nggak begitu banyak kenal sama lawyers di your own firm, but you have closer interaction with your more senior figures, say the partners. Katakanlah, apalagi kita kan sekarang membicarakan mengenai young lawyers ya. We're talking about after graduation from law school. So when you go to a bigger firm, to international firm lah katakanlah, you start as an intern and you report usually to either a junior associate or maybe an associate, but you don't exactly have ini gue ngomong general banget ya, kayak nggak berarti it happens in all firms. Tapi it's not often that you actually have direct interaction with partners or with the other senior figures in that law firm. Sedangkan when we're talking about smaller law firms, ya lagi-lagi karena emang lawyer sedikit, lu bisa baru masuk ke situ dari kuliah, langsung kerja sama senior associate atau bahkan langsung kerja sama partners. So you actually have more in-depth exposure when it comes to working in an independent law firm. So it's just a matter of preference aja sih, whether you want to know more things, like lo tahu banyak hal yang berbeda-beda, atau you want to know smaller thing, less things tapi much more in-depth. Jadi ini ya hal-hal yang bisa di-consider lah when you graduate from law school and you want to think like, where should I go? Which kind of firm should I go? Ya, itu lagi-lagi lo mau exposure yang kayak gimana. So that's about independent and foreign or international law firms. Dio, you want to add more on this before I move to the new kind of law firm that I'm very interested to discuss?
Oh, I think you could just delve right into the new hybrid.
Sorry to interrupt. There is actually a question on this matter dari Fakih Adiwiksaksana dari UI. Fakih, do you mind opening your cam and ask away?
Okay, Bang Dada. Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I want to ask, what is your opinion on the legality between the merge between the accounting consultancy and tax firm with a legal firm? Considering that I've heard on the Undang-Undang Advokat, law firm are not allowed to do other things other than legal work. So what is your thought on that? Thank you.
That is thank you, Fakih, for your question. That is a very interesting question, which we have a few months ago, we have just finished a full legal opinion on this question for the client.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I want to discuss right now, the new hybrid. I think before I answer that question about the specific issue on the legality of it, I want to discuss first about the background of why is this relevant right now. So, as you know, yang bisa menyediakan jasa hukum, ya, legal services are lawyers. Lawyers are usually in the form of law firms. Tapi, there is this phenomenon that is happening right now globally, di mana accounting firms have started to also join the party. They want to join the legal industry. So it began in UK, di mana the big four accounting firms, for those who are not familiar, ya kita ada PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, EY, and Deloitte. These are the big four accounting firms. They're traditional accounting firms, tapi along the years, mereka mulai menyediakan jasa-jasa selain accounting. At first, they begin with financial services, consultancy services, and then they go to tax. Mereka juga jadi tax firm. And now, they also become law firms. And it's happening globally. Dan in Indonesia, it's also, kita juga kena dampaknya gitu loh. Semakin banyak accounting firms yang sekarang itu mulai berusaha antara nge-acquire atau melakukan merger dengan existing law firms. Sehingga tujuan mereka nantinya di tahun-tahun ke depannya itu adalah menyediakan fully integrated services. So the idea is for companies, setiap mereka punya isu keuangan, isu pajak, isu law firm, isu legal, they just go to one firm, and that firm can offer all types of services. That's their idea, which is quite a threat, of course, for the traditional form of law firms. but not to worry, because I think in most countries they offer a specialized katakanlah protection lah ya, to lawyers and how they are operating right now, which now we arrive in your question about the legality of accounting firms who practice law as well in Indonesia. Nah, kalau di Indonesia sendiri, sebenarnya undang-undang advokat kita bahkan sebenarnya nggak mengatur mengenai kantor hukum. Yang diatur itu hanyalah mengenai advokat. Selama jasa hukum itu diberikan oleh advokat, maka ya nggak apa-apa. Nah, emang ini jadinya semacam, menurut gue juga agak abu-abu ya. Karena kalau yang boleh memberikan jasa itu adalah advokat, advokat ini bolehnya bekerja di mana? Apakah ini jadinya dia bisa kerja dimanapun, dibentuk kantor hukumnya apapun, atau ya dia harus kerja di kantor hukum. Yang makanya tadi Dio sempat mention bahwa kita juga pernah bikin legal opinion mengenai hal ini, ya karena memang ini adalah sesuatu yang tidak clear di undang-undang advokat kita. Tapi irrespective of that lah, I think there are a lot of pros and cons about the whole phenomenon going on, but it is happening right now, and we have to acknowledge it that it's happening. Dan makanya yang mungkin bisa gue kasih advice ke young lawyers right now, also to myself, is we actually have to up our game gitu. Our competition right now, kalau kita udah ngomongin sebagai lawyering as business, is not just other law firms, but also accounting firms. Jadi if you can't setidaknya familiarize yourself with all these other issues, tax, accounting, finance, ya kita bisa malah ketinggalan sama these new hybrid forms of legal service providers. Dio, you want to add on this? And I think our friend Sandy here has some comments. Maybe we could discuss that as well.
Yeah, I think I just want to add with regards to the legality of it, which what's his name, Fakih has asked. Benar kata Kiki, emang yang boleh menyediakan jasa hukum adalah advokat. But it's more, if we say that it's a threat, it depends on what angle you're looking at it from. I have seen a lot of cases where the Big Four have actually helped clients achieve better IPO, so to speak, in the capital markets. But I have also seen cases where it is because of the accounting firm that a client has lost out on, what I feel is impartial and independent legal service. So again, there are pros and cons to this new hybrid model, which actually has not been extensively researched about, or like we don't know the effects as to the long-term effects as to the effectiveness of such cooperation. Gitu. Karena it's only has been around for like what, the past 10 years, 15 years. So we have to see it very critically because we are lawyers gitu. We have to see it critically from a legal perspective. Ya pada intinya adalah kalau emang tidak diperbolehkan di bawah undang-undang advokat bagi seorang akuntan untuk menyelenggarakan jasa hukum, ya tidak boleh. Unless the law changes gitu. It's as simple as that when it comes to legality. Tapi modelnya, apakah nanti let's say ada lawyer yang bekerja pada accounting firm dan lawyernya yang menyelenggarakan, antara lawyer sama accounting firm ada agreement mengenai client reference dan lain-lain, itu kan ya nanti balik lagi tergantung agreementnya selama dia tidak menyelewengi hukum gitu. But again, I agree 100% with Kiki that that's why it's called new hybrid model gitu. It's something that people are experimenting within the Indonesian legal framework gitu. And I think
Actually, I have a comment and sort of a question here.
Yeah.
Maybe tying in with Sandy tadi komennya, thank you. I'm also curious about the reasons why clients are seeking for this type of one-stop service. Karena kalau misalnya, from I read, contentious law firms mostly yang focus on contentious kayak arbitration, they prefer making a new law firm yang boutique supaya nggak gede-gede banget dan avoid conflict of interest. But it might be different from non-contentious law firms yang lebih focused in non-contentious. Do you mind shedding a light on this?
Yeah. Okay. When it comes to like non-contentious practices and accounting firms, I think there is a point where I agree with what Sandy has said. The driving force is always the client's demand. Clients often cannot have legal advice without understanding the tax and accounting implication. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. But I can tell you this from experience. We have had, or I have experienced cases, not necessarily at KarimSyah, but at other places where the accounting firm has said, we want to enter the market. We want to enter legal market. You find me a way. So from the accounting side, as EY has done in China, as KPMG has done so in Malaysia and Singapore, they are the ones who have initiated the merger of the law firm. It wasn't the law firm who was actually initiated such merger. It was, the acquisition. It was the Big Four. It was one of the Big Four. The way they work together is that, for example, in an M&A transaction, between a public company and let's say a subsidiary of another company, you need to take into consideration, for example, the capital market aspect. In the capital market aspect, if there is a material transaction, then you would need a valuator. Ya kan? You need a valuator to provide a fairness opinion. Who can give out this fairness opinion? That would be the accounting firm. We as lawyers give the legal opinion. We give the structure of how this transaction is going to take place. Okay, let's, for example, you do a merger, you take the shares of A, bisa dengan cara masukin saham dalam portopel, bisa dengan cara pembayaran cash, hibah, dan lain-lain. And then when the transaction has to happen, the POJK requires you to have an accounting firm which takes over the fairness opinion, contohnya. Nah, itu kan masih butuh accountant untuk menentukan batas nilai wajar, contohnya. And then, after you have acquired such shares, for example, habis itu kan ada tax implication-nya. Disitulah di mana new hybrid firms ini menawarkan one-stop shop. Tidak usah lu cari KJPP lain, tidak usah lu cari tax consultant lain, nggak usah cari legal consultant lain, untuk transaksi ini lu pakai kita aja. Jadi, we go throughout, lu pakai satu firm aja, daripada lu ada different engagement with different firms. Gitu. Itu disitulah menurut gua keuntungannya memakai new hybrid law firm. Gitu. Karena di situ udah lu nggak usah mikir, udah yang penting you bayar X, udah anggap beres semuanya dijalanin. Karena kan kalau lu pakai independent firm kan ya terus terang agak susah nih, kayak ya gua harus ngambil law firm ini, terus gua harus ambil accounting firm ini, terus nanti antara law firm ini sama accounting firm ini kerjanya nggak bareng, apa bla 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 bla, banyak lah in practice. Ada banyak isu-isu kecil seperti itu. Tapi ya balik lagi, ada halnya di mana the working together of this, let's say, accounting firm and the law firm itu mengakibatkan adanya non-impartiality gitu. Jadi contohnya accounting firmnya maksa, harus kayak gini, harus kayak gini, harus kayak gini. Legal bilang, oh nggak bisa kayak gini. Tapi karena emang udah keterikat, let's say yang satunya mempunyai leverage yang lebih besar daripada yang satu, akhirnya ngikut gitu. Dan itu banyak, lu bisa cari direktori putusan MA, banyak yang seperti itu. Itu sih, that's what I have to add about the issue. Kiki?
Yeah, I mean, from client's perspective, ya kita sebagai consumer, jadi kita mengesampingkan diri kita sebagai lawyer, kita coba mikir sebagai consumer. Ya of course it's actually a good thing adanya this new hybrid gitu loh. Karena ya tadi yang Ilham sempat mention juga adanya one stop shop services yang dimana ya kita nggak harus lagi nyari different kinds of firms to provide these services, ya satu aja itu cukup. Jadi sebenarnya untuk client, ya it's a very good thing to have this option, of course. Tapi of course what I'm trying to talk right now itu juga adalah to the traditional forms of law firms, yang dimana ya setuju banget nih bahwa law firm yang katakanlah more traditional ini emang harus mulai memikirkan ya gimana caranya kita nggak ketinggalan juga sama this new hybrid. Ya makanya mungkin harus bikin kerjasama dengan other accounting firms atau tax firms, atau setidaknya punya have that specialty juga, biar tentunya nggak ketinggalan sama this new forms of law firms yang kedepannya pasti akan semakin banyak lagi. Sekarang masih belum banyak, katakanlah di Indonesia. I could say ada mungkin beberapa lah, belum begitu banyak. Tapi kedepannya gue yakin it will increase even more.
Yeah, and then there's another question from Sandy. Like, he hasn't met a truly integrated hybrid firm though.
Kalau di Indonesia sih emang belum ada ya, karena ya tadi gue bilang law firm itu nggak bisa diajak merger gitu loh. Law firm ini apa? Kebanyakan adalah persekutuan perdata atau matchcap atau mungkin firma. Tapi itu kan adalah orang. Sedangkan these other firms itu biasanya dalam bentuk PT misalnya atau mungkin KAP. Mereka nggak bisa dengan gampangnya di merger kayak PT sama PT gitu kan. Jadi kalau di Indonesia contoh yang fully integrated memang belum ada karena undang-undangnya belum memungkinkan itu. Tapi sebenarnya undang-undangnya juga nggak ngelarang ya. I should say that. Tapi emang agak kurang jelas aja di situ. Makanya gue bilang tadi abu-abu. Tapi if you go to Thailand, you go to Vietnam, yang actually allows this, say law firms in form of limited liability company, itu udah ada gitu loh. This top big four accounting firms yang merger aja gitu sama law firm yang udah ada di sana, sehingga the accounting firm itu udah bisa memberikan jasa hukum langsung tanpa ada liku-likunya lah. Kalau di sini kan masih ada ya cara-caranya lah to somehow do that. Tapi kalau di negara-negara lain yang emang memungkinkan merger tersebut, ya it's happening already there. Tapi in Indonesia, like I said, it's not quite that simple yet. Anyway, I
think we gotta move on.
We gotta move on to. Because it's a very interesting thing happening right now. Kalau mau didiscuss lagi tuh, it's gonna take even much more time. Say, we discussed that in such a length waktu itu ya, waktu kita bikin opinion.
Pas kita bikin legal opinion tentang ini ada kali dua bulan apa kita diskusi ini nih. Okay, one last question. I think I'm gonna entertain this and I'm gonna answer this very swiftly. Last question: the subject in theory, an advocate can enter into a persekutuan perdata with tax or accounting expert, bisa, asalkan nanti kalau secara KUHPer ya bisa aja. Jadi kan KUHPer itu tidak membatasi, UU advokatnya juga tidak membatasi. Jadi this is one of the structures of which the law firm would enter into contract with an accounting firm. Bisa aja. Cuman balik lagi, secara perorangan tax atau accounting expert tidak boleh menyelenggarakan jasa hukum. Gitu. Okay. To address the next question, to a domestic firm or international firm, do you have any already? Yeah, I think we've discussed this. But if you want to like talk in depth with it, you can like just send us an email.
I think we'll just move on first.
Okay. Ini yang menurut gua lumayan important for you guys to consider if you're just strict out of law school. So there are very many career progress examples di Jakarta, and I'm just picking a few which are most distinctive towards each other. Jadi ada intern legal assistant, junior associate as you can read gitu. So you have to know before you enter the law firm, gimana jenjang karirnya, dan yang kedua berapa lama waktu yang dibutuhkan. Itu adalah dua hal yang sangat penting. Ya. Jadi contohnya, in example A, ada intern, legal assistant, sampai junior associate. Di intern dan di legal assistant, itu lo masih PKWT. Jadi PKWT is an employment contract with a sphere of time. Oke. Jadi perjanjian kerja waktu tertentu. Nah, di situ tuh lo belum permanen. Artinya apa? Ya di situ they could fire you after a year period or 2-year period gitu. Nah, pada saat ini you have to watch out. Kenapa? Karena nanti bisa, you have to ask yourself, bisa nggak gue progress, or is it worth having the risk of being here a year or two, gitu. Dimana, let's say, at other firms maybe ada example C, intern trainee 6 bulan PKWT, habis itu langsung associate PKWTT. Nah, PKWTT itu adalah permanent employment contract. Oke, perjanjian kerja waktu tak terbatas, or is it tak terbatas, Ki? Okay, basically it's a permanent employment contract. So what happens here adalah you have to know within the law firm in itself, how are you going up? See, if your dream is to become a partner, then you would have to know how to get to become a partner, gitu. Unless suddenly lu drop out dari senior associate keluar, terus lu bikin law firm sendiri, ya lu harus ngikutin jenjang daripada kantor itu. Gitu. Kalau di kita di KarimSyah itu, you have interns, and then you have trainee associates, and then we have associates. Ya, kita tidak membedakan senior, mid, sama junior. It's just that sometimes, no, all the time we know, okay, yang ini lebih senior, yang ini lebih junior. But sometimes that blends really well because we are very like open and frank with each other when it comes to work, gitu loh. Jadi nggak ada kayak, aduh, nggak enak nih ngomong sama ini nih senior associate gitu. Kalau di KarimSyah, I could say enggak. Cuman di mana sebetulnya there is an advantage of having kayak jenjang junior, mid, senior adalah because you would know the hierarchy of work, who you report to, where you stand within the hierarchy or the bureaucracy of the kantor, if it's a big kantor. Gitu. So yeah, Ki, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think other than the internal aspect of whom to report when you work in a certain law firm, it's also good to know which kind of law firm that you want to go to, which mereka ini mekanisme, katakanlah, promotionnya tuh gimana. This is important for those of you who yang ingin merencanakan hidup untuk jangka yang panjang gitu lah. Karena there are some law firms I see yang very good firms, itu yang benar-benar jelas gitu loh. Kayak, oh lu tuh kalau masuk sini karirnya itu 6 bulan jadi intern, terus 6 bulan lagi jadi legal assistant, junior associate berapa tahun, mid associate berapa tahun. Jadi you can actually plan your whole life gitu loh. Oh, gue tahu nih, gue butuh katakanlah 15-20 tahun sampai gue bisa jadi equity partner. So if you are one of those people who really like to plan things out for a very long time, yeah, you might, once you get to a law firm, you ask your partner atau siapapun yang interview lo, gimana jenjang karir di sini? What can I expect when it comes to titles and promotions and positions? Karena ada juga harus kita katakan law firm yang tidak sebegitunya komprehensif dalam positioning their titles, ya kayak yang misalnya di example C ini, ya habis intern langsung jadi associate, dan setelah associate itu ya next step-nya itu udah nggak ada lagi, nggak ada senior associate, langsung aja ke partner when the time comes. The time comes kapan, ya itulah yang harus dibicarakan dengan masing-masing pimpinan kantor. So ada baiknya juga for any law graduates, ya you ask around your seniors mungkin yang udah kerja di certain law firms, kalau gue masuk law firm itu tuh kira-kira jenjang karir gue gimana gitu. Because this is important gitu. Karena as Dio said earlier in the beginning, lawyering is also a business gitu. You want to know your business prospect. You want to know your prospect in a certain law firm. Gue bisa sampai kemana di sini gitu. Kalau gue tahu ujung-ujungnya gue cuma bakal stuck in one position dan you don't see any opportunities to improve yourself, apakah itu financially, apakah itu personally, knowledge-wise, ya might as well take your business somewhere else gitu kan. So this career progress is very important for young lawyers to plan their career. Ya kalau katakanlah emang udah mau jadi lawyers, to know what kind of offers each law firms can give to you. Dan ya ini lagi-lagi beda-beda setiap law firm-nya, dan gimana cara tahunya masing-masing law firm gimana, ya you have to ask the people within that firm. Jadi ya mulailah nanya-nanya teman-teman senior mungkin ada yang punya kenalan di law firm mana, ya kalau gue masuk situ kira-kira gue butuh ngelakuin apa aja buat manjat tuh hierarchy. Ya of course as lawyers kita terus improve lah our career. Yeah. Is there anything else, or we could
we can move on to the more exciting stuff now? Okay, now let's talk about the myths and like the taboos of lawyering. Nah, ini nih, menurut gue ini nih sangat-sangat penting untuk dibicarakan karena banyak sekali yang lulus tapi belum lulus, let's say dari perguruan tinggi ternama, tapi tidak punya expectation mengenai salary. Bukan karena nggak punya expectation, tapi karena nggak tahu sekitar berapa sih, how much can I make sih sebetulnya. Nah,
gaji lo berapa? Gue nggak tahu.
Apa?
Gaji lo berapa?
Keren.
Sopan ya.
Wow.
Jangan.
Kalau partner equity share lu di kantor berapa, Gi? Sebagai ahli waris.
Ini emang topik yang katakanlah, ya ini bukan sekarang ya, dari dulu emang namanya udah gaji kan udah. It's a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and but let's try to talk about it gitu loh, in a very open-minded way katakanlah. Ya tadi kan di awal kita sempat membahas ya, apakah being a lawyer means big bucks? Ya di satu sisi enggak, di satu sisi sih ya it could have been much worse gitu loh. I know other jobs that provide less.
Yeah.
So in that perspective ya it's not so bad. Tapi emang kita harus bilang, at least based on what we know in Jakarta, apalagi buat yang young lawyers yang baru fresh grads, the range is quite big ya. Ya di situ kita bilang starting salary could start from 3.5 million, which is barely minimum wage Jakarta, I guess, until 20 million. To be honest, Ham, I don't know any law firm yang offer 20 million. So if you know, maybe we could go there, man.
I know a firm which had offered 20 million as a starting salary for a fresh grad, but the fresh grad didn't last for 6 months.
Okay.
So, but I would say it was a very sizable first paycheck, I would say.
I would say that too. 20, well, gue bisa katakan is quite high lah when it comes to starting salary. Sebenarnya kalau standarnya yang gue sering dengar sih ya dari pengalaman dan dari cerita teman-teman ya biasanya mungkin 6, 8, that's quite normal lah ya. 3.5 ya gue ada yang pernah dengar kayak gitu. It's not exactly low, especially kalau lu emang bener-bener baru fresh grad. But I think rata-rata yang gue paling sering lihat tuh kisaran 6-8 lah. So if ada yang di sini mau jadi lawyers once you graduate ya you need to memperhitungkan ya kira-kira this is what you can get in the beginning. Dan kalau lu mungkin mikirnya mendingan gua jualan makanan di Instagram lebih banyak ininya, ya nggak apa-apa juga gitu kan. Tapi kan tentu ada resiko-resikonya sendiri. The range of what we say here ya itu banyak faktornya tentu. The firm size, the firm's type, dan of course the kind of work that you actually do in that firm itu kan mungkin bisa beda-beda juga. Dan tentunya yang nggak kalah penting as always is adalah the economic climate. Ya as all of you are aware right now, we're not exactly in the best climate right now due to the whole COVID. Jadi ya hal-hal seperti itu selalu harus diperhitungkan dalam memperkirakan kira-kira berapa sih salary yang bisa lo dapet dari suatu law firm, especially waktu lu baru mulai. Dan tentunya it actually is relevant bahkan waktu lo udah kerja berapa tahun di law firm itu. Typical salary jumps, that's just based on what we know ya. It's nothing fixed. We don't say which firms yang kayak begini. Tapi ya, this is a very generalization. Don't take it without any other considerations. Mungkin lo dengar-dengar dari tempat lain yang mungkin tidak seperti ini, tapi ini kira-kira semacam gambaran very loose picture lah of what we know so far. Dan what you can expect other than your monthly gaji, of course there are usually other incentives in which a law firm provide. We mentioned some here, ada bonus bisa ada year end, bisa mid year, lo bisa dapat asuransi, which is quite relevant in this time, asuransi kesehatan. Ada juga yang memberikan transport cost, meal cost, ya lu dikasih duit buat beli makan tiap harinya. Dan tentunya karena kita di Indonesia, kita selalu ada THR. What we want to say is, other than your monthly salaries, all those incentives usually are optional. So it's not mandatory for law firms to give them, except for THR, that's actually diwajibkan, kecuali kalau ada situasi-situasi yang memang, anyway. Itu cuma other incentives, firms bisa ngasih, bisa enggak usually. So, but that's pretty much what you can expect from what you can get when we're talking, financially speaking, working as a lawyer after graduation.
Yeah, but again, this list is a combined list of like all of like Kiki is UGM, right? So there's a lot of UGM friends. I'm from UI. I have a lot of UI friends who work at like various firms, from international really big firms to really boutique firms, or even in-house counsel. This is just the range of typical salaries that you can expect gitu. Jadi kalau lu pengen tahu, ya lu langsung tanya seniornya aja di situ. Tapi ya hati-hati, jangan kayak lu datangin seniornya, bang gaji lu berapa gitu. Enggak, lu nggak akan dijawab. Just be nice and like ask, bang range di situ starting berapa, atau mbak range di situ starting berapa. And like awalnya kalau gue dulu nanya ke senior tuh agak sungkan. But trust me, they're actually very open about this if you know them. And like interns, ini kan you start off as intern kan, and most firms gitu, nggak mungkin langsung junior ASO atau interns or trainee ASO.
Mungkin
apa? Kenapa?
Kecuali lu spesial,
yes. Kecuali lu special case gitu. Nggak banyak tapi. Cuman kalau if you're starting as an intern to trainee associate, I would say the Jakarta mark is around, if you're aiming for, let's say, a reputable firm, rata-rata 6 to 8 kalau buat intern. Kalau buat intern yang udah SH ya, we're not talking about student interns, I'm talking about interns yang udah SH, itu rata-rata 6 to 8 gitu. That's what I wanted to add. All right. Nah, ini slide-nya Ki. Ada pertanyaan.
Ada pertanyaan.
Wah, gue dipanggilnya Bang Oepangat, Ki. Aduh.
Ya.
So, Ivan, do you mind turning on your cam to ask away, if you can?
Yes.
You can go back one slide, because it's still about slide.
Ivan tuh pernah ke kantor ya dulu ya?
Iya, pernah Bang.
Oh iya. Ingat gue.
Yeah. Anyway, mau nanya, Bang, panggilnya Bang apa nih? Bang Oepangat, Bang Dio?
Bang Oepangat, nggak masalah.
Biar kayak rapper ya.
Okay, good afternoon sebelumnya Bang Kiki dan Bang Oepangat, and thank you for this very insightful presentation. Having discussed the general scheme of the career progression and the salary in law firms yang from the 9th and the 8th slide, can I ask in general how long usually an intern should work before he or she may expect to progress in the law firm position and remuneration wise? Thank you.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay, There, in my experience, for international law firms, there is usually a 6 months intern phase, 6 months to a year, and then there is a 1 year to 2 year trainee associate phase before you're actually diangkat menjadi permanen. Itu buat teman-teman gue yang di law firm international affiliated law firms. Those who have like a structure yang benar-benar jenjangnya itu jelas. Namun harus juga dikatakan bahwa untuk independent firms itu sangat tergantung pada partnernya. Gitu. Contohnya KarimSyah. Kalau KarimSyah, I can say, gua itu magang 2 bulan, and then I was a trainee associate, and then I became a trainee associate setahun, and then I became a full-time associate. But generally, if you're talking about like what I call as SCBD firms, usually 6 months to a year internship, which may be extended depending on the situation of the economic situation of the kantor, and then a year to 2 years trainee associate. Yeah. So as far as I know, that's how it goes. Sih. Gitu.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bang.
Okay, Ki, you have anything to add to this?
No, yeah, pretty much that's the way it is in most firms, yeah.
Yeah, but makanya it's very then note to yourself bahwa being at the right time at the right place is very important. Contohnya, let's say you are really really smart pas internship, and then lu diangkat jadi trainee ASO. Tapi pada saat trainee ASO, ya kita kena let's say COVID kayak gini, terus ada yang namanya pengefisienan kantor. Terus lu nggak diangkat menjadi junior ASO gitu. Yang tadinya trainee terus ke junior. So these are like factors you have to take into consideration once you start taking a job. You need to be able to plan, oh ke depan nih gimana, how is the outlook for gua bisa diangkat or not. And factorsnya nggak cuman apakah lu bisa perform apa enggak, apakah lu pinter apa enggak, atau bisa lu teamwork atau enggak dengan ASO-ASO yang lain. Tapi it's about being there at the right place at the right time. Dan itu ya gue tahu itu kadang-kadang susah, kayak lu nggak bisa plan for that. But yeah, as much as you can, take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Bang Oepangat, Bang Kiki.
Okay, no problem. All right, now we move to the slide which Kiki has drafted.
Well, you made this, man. I just edited it.
I didn't. I never. Who drafts you wish? I never said you wish. Or did I? Did I? No, I didn't. Okay. Kalau kadang-kadang ya nggak kadang-kadang sih. Kalau umpamanya we're straight out of like high school, for example, and you've watched Suits, lawyering equals Harvey Specter. Yeah, you wish gitu. Probably after a few years of doing lawyering, yeah, maybe 5 to 6 years, probably you can be like Harvey Specter.
Apa sih maksudnya kayak Harvey Specter? Mungkin dijelasin, because I don't think everybody watches Suits.
Taunya gitu, Saul Goodman guys, Saul Goodman.
Kayak Saul, nah kita nggak ada tuh macam-macam lawyer Saul Goodman kayaknya di Jakarta ya. Okay, what I mean by Harvey Specter adalah, okay, so if you watch the seasons adalah he is the guy who closes all the deals. Jadi lu cuma lihat dia di ujung tombak dealnya aja. Jadi ibaratnya tombaknya 3 meter nih, lu cuma lihat di ujungnya doang. Kenapa? Karena ujungnya runcing dan paling keren, gitu. Tapi yang lu nggak lihat adalah sebetulnya 3 meter tombaknya itu, which is actually the work behind all that Harvey does, which is usually done by why it isn't shown on the show because they are the irrelevant associates, gitu. Not saying that it's irrelevant, but then they are the ones who. It's just that they're behind at the back and they're the one yang ketik the deal, and he goes to the client and says, you know what, you need to do this. And he comes into the office whenever he wants. You see him having nice lunches, going to the car club, going to cocktail bars and whatnot. And he does that during the day. And you think to yourself, wow, this lawyering life so cool. I just want to be like him, you know. Whereas if kenyataannya adalah jeng-jeng. It's not like that, at least from what Kiki and I and our friends have experienced. It's definitely nothing like that for now.
I think there's a famous line that Harvey said something like, you know, life is this and he wants that. And to be honest, hearing it's like maybe down there in the beginning. Those stigmas, mungkin the stories you've heard from your seniors, lawyering, kerja sampai pagi, those are relatively true. Ya, apalagi kalau lu baru mulai bener-bener gitu ya, you just graduated law school and you go to a law firm, you become an intern, you're basically the lowest in the food chain in that firm kan. Apalagi when we're talking about the big firm with many layers of positions.
Yeah.
So gue suka menggambarkannya begini, misalnya klien ngasih pekerjaan, of course ngasihnya ke partner kan. The partner is the one that usually deals with clients. And say the client wants a certain work to be done within, say, 1 week. okay, so the partner has 1 week to give back the work to the client. And then the partner usually will give the work untuk dikerjain sama say senior associate. So diturunin dari partner ke senior associate. Dan tentunya partnernya nanti cuma mau ngecek doang kan di ujungnya kira-kira ini udah semuanya bener nggak, make sense nggak. And he probably needs like 1 day to do that. Jadi yang tadinya deadline 7 hari, 1 hari di reserve for that partner to work, to supervise the whole work, to make sure that it's up to the standard of the client. Jadi si senior associate sekarang dia punya 6 hari buat ngerjain kerjaan ini. Tentunya dia juga nggak bakal ngerjain, dia bakal nyuruh lagi ke bawah buat mulai ngedraft awal misalnya. Dia kasih ke associate yang biasanya bakal ngelakuin the very rancangan pertama lah katakanlah. Dia yang biasanya bakal mulai. Associate berarti juga time limitnya itu bakal berkurang lagi dong, karena senior associate nanti butuh waktu juga buat ngecek pekerjaannya si associate. Jadi si associate sekarang punya 3 hari katakanlah buat ngerjain kerjaan ini. Nah, associate ini nanti minta bantuan juga ke bawahannya lagi, apakah itu junior associate, apakah itu trainee, buat bantu-bantu riset. Jadi lagi-lagi riset ini harus dicek lagi sama si associate. Jadi nanti yang posisinya si junior aso atau trainee mungkin cuma punya 1 hari atau 2 hari buat ngelakuin kerjaan. Nah, abis itu ke lo yang intern, yang baru lulus. Ya, itulah lo cuma punya 3 jam buat ngerjain tuh pekerjaan. Terus lo dapat kerjaan lain dari associate lain yang lo butuh 3 jam juga. Nah, itulah diakumulasiin sehingga lo akhirnya pulang jam 2 pagi. Kira-kira begitu hidup lo di awal-awal.
Iya, dan ya gini, with that yang kayak turunan yang Kiki tadi nyebutin derivatifnya, partner kan ibaratnya partner tuh guru normnya ya, dia ngecek ini arahnya atau the spirit of the work-nya itu kemana. Ke bawahnya lagi senior ASO, he talks about for example implementation technicalities-nya gimana, strategi. Turun lagi ke associate-nya bakal ngomongin how to implement the strategy. Jadi dia riset-riset. Ke bawahnya lagi, let's say ke trainee-nya, dia butuh the actual research gitu. Jadi they're the ones who conduct the research and who draft the research. Nah, ke bawahnya lagi usually kalau gue kemarin punya teman, punya junior, waduh bang, gila, kerjaan gue jadi penerjemah tersumpah nih di kantor. Nah, akhirnya jadi translator gitu. So, balik lagi, you have to know what kind of work you are getting into, or like what kind of transaction the firm does in relation to the hierarchy before you enter the firm gitu. Karena kasihan juga if you enter a firm dan lu 6 bulan cuman translate. Nah, kalau bahasa tongkrongannya akhirnya jadinya lu pikir gitu. Nah, at the end of the day, like you gotta like consider all of these it's factors. I know it's a lot and it's not easy finding like a firm yang you 100% cocok with gitu. Nah, ini nih tadi yang kita belum in depth ya. Jadi ada this notion kadang-kadang anak-anak non hukum, gue baru jelasin, iya gue baru lulus, wah lu lawyer dong gitu. Lu bisa ke pengadilan dong. Ya jawabannya adalah well not exactly gitu. You can go to the court and sit at the back gitu. Lu bisa ke pengadilan bisa, tapi duduk di belakang. Nggak bisa ke meja PH atau meja tergugat penggugat, belum bisa gitu. Ya kecuali ya ada anomali tertentu dalam sistem hukum peradilan perdata kita yang kadang-kadang Bapak yang terhormat hakim itu lupa, tahu-tahu loh kok ada seangkatan gitu yang duduk di meja PH terus nanya-nanyain saksi. That can happen too, but by law to qualify as an advocate itu ada syarat-syaratnya. First, you have to be 25 years old at the minimum. You have to have 2 years of internship, calculated post-graduation. You have to finish the bar course, lu harus PKPA, habis itu lu harus bar exam, UPA. Terus lu harus admitted to an advocate organization untuk dapetin apa? Yang namanya, ya kalau bahasa sehari-hari seorang pengacara itu adalah kartu pradi, kartu perhimpunan. Terus setelah itu lu harus punya BAS, berita acara sumpah. You have to be sworn in by the High Court. Nah, yang kadang-kadang bikin bingung adalah, ini harus punya 2 years of internship calculated post graduation. Tapi by the second year, gue udah nggak intern, gue udah associate. Nah, disinilah penting, di mana harus dicatat bahwa law firm position does not reflect your status as an advocate. Gitu. Jadi mau lu associate, mau lu partner, kalau secara hukum lu belum pegang kartu pradi sama berita acara sumpah, you're not an advocate yet. Gitu. That would be just your title yang diberikan kantor untuk dikasih tahu ke klien. Ini posisinya associate at this our law firm. Apa? Jadi kan at the end of the day yang tanda tangan adalah ya the partners gitu. The partners who are qualified advocates and who are pimpinan kantor gitu. Your work is legal work, yes, but it does not necessarily mean you are an advocate gitu. Dan lu harus nyadar kalau umpamanya for different other sectors, contohnya you want to practice capital markets law, itu lo harus ngambil HKHPM, harus ngambil additional courses from the Bar Association for Capital Markets. Or you want to take tax, si Kiki ini udah nih tax sama capital markets yang modul pertama dia udah. Di tax lo harus ngambil brevet pajak untuk bisa admitted as a tax tax consultant atau tax law practitioner. So it's not that you can graduate straight from law school and langsung bisa appear before the court. You have to you have to go through all of these steps gitu. Kiki, you have anything to add to this?
Sorry, sedikit ngebahas aja karena ini it's very technical and banyak yang nanya-nanya juga, apalagi kalau yang masih di law school mengenai internship ya, karena gue rasa ada teman-teman kita yang mungkin during the law school mereka udah pernah magang. Apakah magang itu bisa dihitung sebagai akumulasi buat yang 2 tahun untuk jadi advokat? Ya sebenarnya sih short answer jawabannya enggak. Kayak kalau lu pernah magang waktu lagi mungkin semester 6 ada magang, kalau di UGM tuh ada wajib magang tuh buat certain program. Dan gue tahu di teman-teman di UI pasti ada yang lagi liburan suka magang, sebulan kah, 2 bulan during the summer holiday. Ya itu sayangnya nggak bisa dihitung sebagai pemenuhan 2 tahun yang diwajibkan oleh undang-undang advokat. Kayak yang dihitung itu harus setelah lu udah SH, sarjana hukum. Setelah sarjana hukum lu magang, disitulah dihitung 2 tahun dan barulah itu lo bisa dianggap ada pemenuhan, dan itu nanti harus ada surat keterangannya dari masing-masing law firm atau kantor hukumnya. Nah,
Bro, kalau mau nanya berarti nggak harus di satu tempat begitu ya? Buat magang.
Nggak harus di satu tempat, kayak lu nanti bisa diakumulasiin gitu kan, kayak dari yang tempat ini 1,5 tahun, dari tempat yang ini 0,5 tahun. Tapi ya asal lu minta keterangannya aja sih, makanya jangan sampai lu di tempat-tempat ini ada yang lupa. Terus yang di tempat terakhir, lah lu kan di sini baru 6 bulan, belum 2 tahun, gue nggak mau ngasih surat keterangannya. Nah itu nanti lu sulit sendiri buat penyumpahannya.
Okay, so we have a question here dari Sandy lagi. What's the benefit of joining KAI, IAI, Ferrari dan lain-lain?
Actually, this is something quite interesting. I know undang-undang advokat itu memberikan kompetensi kepada suatu organisasi advokat, yang inilah organisasi advokat yang memiliki hak untuk mengelola katakanlah advokat-advokat di Indonesia. Dan setahun kemudian Peradi dibentuk oleh 8 organisasi advokat lainnya yang setuju untuk menjadikan Peradi, udahlah, this is our bar association in Indonesia. But actually in practice, ya Indonesia adopts multi-bar. We don't have just one bar association. We have a lot. Dan gue bahkan nggak hafal semuanya. There's really, kayak setiap tahunnya ada aja gitu yang baru. Dan mereka ngaku organisasi advokat. Dan sebenarnya secara hukum diperbolehkan gitu. Karena mereka actually punya tuh dekrinya lah, SK Kemenkumhamnya keluar yang menyatakan mereka ini organisasi advokat. Jadi sebenarnya lu mau ke organisasi advokat yang manapun, kalau kita cuma ngomong secara hukum ya, very normatively, dan organisasi advokat ini bisa membantu lo untuk disumpah oleh pengadilan tinggi, ya lu advokat, apapun itu, walaupun itu bukan peradi. Walaupun memang tentunya peradi ini adalah the OG, organisasi advokat dan yang terbesar. Tapi lo jangan lupa juga, peradi pun sekarang kan lagi, katakanlah, ya ada internal issue. We actually have 3 paradis right now. I don't know, is it 3 or 2 right now? Gue dengar ada 2 yang merge. It's very difficult to track. But even Paradi right now, if you go Google Paradi, ada yang paradi.co.id, ada yang paradi.com, I guess, and both is actually different, handled by 2 different management. Ya terserah lah, lu mau mengasimilasikan diri lu dengan kartu Paradi yang mana. Tapi kalau emang nggak mau ke Paradi, bisa juga ke tempat-tempat lain. Nah, ini udah permasalahan preferensi aja. Selama mereka bisa membantu lo untuk mendapatkan sumpah di pengadilan tinggi, dan lu dapat berita acara sumpah, normatively speaking, you can practice law. Jadi kalau ditanya, what's the benefit? Ya mungkin Pradi, lu udah nggak ada, lu lupa daftar kemarin, kayak gue sebenarnya, gue kemarin mau ikut sumpah, tapi telat, ya kalau gue mau, gue bisa aja cari ke tempat lain yang bisa ngebantu gue untuk sumpah. So it's just a matter of preference. Mungkin lo punya temen di specific organization, lo mau ngebantu mereka, jadi lo sumpah di sana. It's just personal preference really. Mungkin sedikit teknis untuk mengenai penyumpahan di High Court, karena gue yakin teman-teman yang dengerin di sini datang dari berbagai tempat, asumsinya nggak cuma dari Jakarta. Sumpahnya itu akan dilakukan berdasarkan jurisdiksi KTP lo. So if you are originated from, say, Sumatera mungkin, ya lu harus ke pengadilan tinggi di sana nanti. So kalau lu emang udah mau kerja di Jakarta, katakanlah lu mau lawyering, udah tahu lu mau kerja di Jakarta, lu udah tinggal di sini, tapi mungkin KTP lu masih mungkin dari Jogja, teman-teman, mungkin ada teman-teman yang dari Batam, ya ada baiknya juga tuh cari KTP sini, biar bisa disumpah di Jakarta. Atau enggak lu terpaksa harus hanya untuk sumpah itu balik ke tempat asal KTP buat cuman sekedar disumpah, which could be quite an issue, apalagi kalau kita ngomongin with all the situation right now. Yeah, there's just a technical point that you might want to take into consideration nantinya kalau lagi mau disumpah.
Bro, if I may come back to the internship a bit, does it have to be intermittent, kayak terus-terusan, nggak ada stop? So I wonder if some of the audience here, or even me, kalau misalnya in the middle of working, terus pengen S2 gitu, misalnya you go 1 year and you wanna take S2 LLM, is that taken into account, or you have to start anew for the duration of the internship?
Itu tergantung peradinya sih, bro. I mean, ada peradi yang bilang bahwa itu harus 2 tahun terus-menerus. Sebenarnya
secara undang-undang bilangnya terus-menerus, Ham.
Iya, I get. Kalau di undang-undang sih terus-menerus. Cuman there are other kayak peradis yang menyatakan bahwa ya asalkan lu terus-menerus magang walaupun beda law firm, nggak masalah. Yang penting lu habis 1,5 tahun, lu langsung setengah tahunnya lu masuk law firm lagi gitu, lu magang lagi 6 bulan. Adanya juga yang law bilang, ya enggak, harus di satu law firm aja 2 tahun. Dan itu ya balik lagi, when we're talking about kayak Indonesian Bar Associations, itu kan siapa yang sedang memimpin, dia adalah pembuat regulasi untuk advokat-advokat atau calon advokatnya. Jadi you have to check, kayak lu harus cek terus mengenai peraturan tersebut. And I think there's something that I want to add juga adalah I want to highlight in relation to Sandy's question, what's the benefit of joining KAI dan lain-lain if Pradi is the only industry regulating entity for the advocate industry? Ya itu sebetulnya de jure benar. Cuman de facto adalah KAI, IAI, Ferrari, Fapri, mereka juga mempunyai surat pengangkatan oleh Kemenkumham. Dan kalau Kemenkumham itu sudah menganggap mereka sebagai penyelenggara pendidikan advokat atau mempunyai hak dan kewenangan untuk mengangkat advokat, ya nggak itu tidak menjadi masalah untuk mengikuti. Cuman emang Pradi sekarang the biggest in numbers. Nah, satu lagi mungkin hal yang trivial namun keren menurut gua, kalau lu ikut KAI atau IAI, I forgot either of those two, lu dapat gelar lagi cuy. Lu depan nama lu ada tulisan ADV titik. Jadi contohnya kalau gue ikut IAI atau KAI itu ADV titik advokat Dioputra Ilham Oepangat SH. Wah keren kayak di luar negeri, kayak di Ceko tuh, kayak di negara-negara Eropa Timur.
Kalau di
Cuman
US
ya
ada ESQ gitu ya. Kalau di US ada ESQ.
Iya, kalau ada ESQ gitu. Cuma kalau di sini ada ADV. Walaupun kalau gue lihat di pengadilan masih kebanyakan ya masih peradil lah. Gitu. Nah, ini satu lagi nih. Karena kita berhubung kita adalah negara yang sangat menyukai gelar. Sampai kalau kita lihat kan kawinan kadang-kadang kan gelar tuh sampai ditaruh tuh pas kawinan tuh. Gelar ini. Ada this notion bahwa the more titles I have, the more qualified I am. That's a very interesting statement. Kenapa? Karena I know exactly Kiki's stance on this, but I'm gonna put it out very diplomatically. Adalah bahwa there needs to be in qualification, there needs to be a nice symbiosis or balance between prestige and experience gitu. Jadi kalau kita itu mempunyai suatu gelar,
So,
itu
by the way, ini title, when we're talking about titles, it's aside from S1 ya. Karena kalau S1 itu udah harga mati lah buat lawyering. So it's other titles other than S1. Kalau S1, lu mau lawyering ya lu harus S1 dulu lah setidaknya buat bisa nanti jadi advokat. So we're talking about the more titles other than S1.
Correct. Jadi kayak ya contohnya ya kayak kita ACIArb, LLM dan lain-lain. Ya itu memberikan klien suatu patokan bahwa lawyer ini tuh ngerti this subject. Tapi itu bukan merupakan jaminan bahwa this lawyer itu jago atau qualified in this subject. Jadi itu sebetulnya apa ya? Itu sebetulnya patokan aja untuk melihat, oh ini jenjang pendidikannya udah S2, mungkin dia udah lebih senior. Oh mungkin he knows about this topic. But then again, balik lagi, yang akan berbicara kepada klien tuh apa? Track record. Karena kemarin aja we went through a lot of meetings and they always said, oh karena Pak X sering beracara di X gitu. So experience kalau di Indonesia itu merupakan a very hard sell to clients. Experience ya. Dan what I have to say again adalah this is just okay, sorry, there's a question which really made me laugh. But we'll get to that later, ya, sebentar after we finish this slide. But again, damn, where was I? I lost my chain of thought.
Maybe you're too somber, man.
Yeah. So back again, kalau di Indonesia itu ya all over the world actually, kayak it doesn't matter if you are an FCIR, it doesn't really matter kalau mama you have a doctor title, because I can name examples of head of dispute resolution practices who only have SH, not even ACR, who work in dispute resolution and are really good at it at an international firm. Or even you look at American lawyers, how many of them have an LLM? Or you look at Singaporean lawyers, how many of them have an LLM? So it's by no means a guarantee of that you are qualified in the subject of your title. It's a patokan. And secondly, you ask any senior lawyer about contohnya additional titles ya, S2, S3, professional certifications, organizational accreditations, they will say to you the same thing that, for example, I have asked one of the SCBD firm's managing partners, what do you think of S2, S3? And he told me, it's the icing on the cake gitu. Tapi the cake in itself is supposed to be your experience, your network, your knowledge, dan lain-lain. So, balik lagi, combination of lawyering is also knowing how to manage not just the law, but it's also to manage people. You need to have a really strong network of people. And that ranges from clients, ministries, government, other lawyers. Karena all of this network akhirnya will substantiate your practice. Lu butuh saksi ahli, lu punya teman apa? Lu punya, let's say you have a capital markets case, and we can't be experts on everything. You gotta have friends gitu. You have a capital markets case, you call your friend who is a capital markets lawyer. You want to pitch to clients, you have a new project, let's say you have a new practice, you need to know a lot of clients to pitch your practice gitu. So networking is one thing. Yang kedua, of course, you need to have knowledge gitu. Kalau if you cannot sell as a lawyer, yang penting itu adalah what are you selling gitu. Lu jual apa? Karena lawyering itu bisnis, lu bisa jual apa? Ya lu bisa jual knowledge yang lu dapat dengan exposure sama know-how. Gitu. Ya the practical and the theoretical knowledge itu harus jadi merge. It has to merge. Karena gini, once you enter a really good firm, let's say it's a very reputable international firm. Once you get out, gitu, and once you want to start your own, ya yang akan ditanya adalah what do you have to offer? Lu punya klien siapa? Lu udah pernah ngerjain apa? You can't hide behind the big name of the firm that you were. Oh, gue X ini, so what gitu. Pada akhirnya nanti ditanya, ya what have you been exposed to? Contohnya, iya saya sering litigasi. Ya, knowing litigation, for example, civil litigation ya, mengetahui HIR, RBG, itu tidak enough gitu. Gimana contohnya kalau panitera itu ngambek sama lo? Atau contohnya lu salinan dari putusan nggak mau dikasih atas alasan, saya males aja belum ngeprint gitu. Saya males ngapain gitu. Atau panitera udah manggil lu sekali, lu nggak datang, lu datang lagi terus bilang tergugatnya nggak hadir, padahal lu sebetulnya datang. Hal-hal kayak gitu kan is something that you only acquire with exposure. Gitu. It's not something that you learn in classrooms or you can study and get a title for. Kan nggak ada title kan, wah master pengadilan, MPN gitu, nggak ada cuy. Karena that's something that you learn throughout your journey. Asik, journey as a lawyer gitu.
Keeping track with time, we have only 20 minutes left and we have a couple of questions in the chat box.
20 minutes left? Really?
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours. So did you have any more slides to add to explain?
Wait, let me just check.
Actually, no, we can just go to
we have 2 slides.
All right. Yeah. You can choose whatever you prefer.
Okay, well, we'll just wrap this up quickly. I think Kiki can go through this if he wants to.
Yeah, this is just really very basic thing that we need to know ya. Jangan mikir kita bakal kerja di Indonesia, ya di pengadilan Indonesia, semuanya harus pakai bahasa Indonesia ya. Terus kita jadi nggak mentingin bahasa Inggris. This is very wrong. Bahasa Inggris is always very important in all aspects of working right now, not just lawyering, but for lawyers ya kita, apalagi di zaman sekarang ya, bahasa Inggris is a very, very important thing. Gue pernah dengar cerita anekdot lah, di suatu law firm ada 8 interns, gue nggak bakal bilang law firm mana, not ours actually, tapi I heard ada 8. Law firm kita nggak bisa ada 8 interns ya, kita nggak punya ruangan sebanyak itu. Anyway, ada 8 interns, terus semuanya bagus, dan there's actually one person that is better than the rest of them, in terms of his work quality, in terms of his GPA, is actually better than the remaining 7, but then his English is lacking compared to the 7. The 7 interns got promoted. The one who is actually smarter, who is actually more qualified, but it's just because his English is not as good, dia nggak di-promote. So it's very important. Kenapa? Karena in many aspects of our lawyering, apakah kita berinteraksi dengan perusahaan PMA, atau mungkin emang ada pemegang saham yang asing, bahasa Inggris tuh selalu kita gunain. Tapi in the same line, gue juga pengen nekenin betapa pentingnya bahasa Indonesia. Dan ini mungkin gue tekenin buat teman-teman yang mungkin ada datang dari program-program internasional. Mungkin program, kalau di UI kan we know ada program KKI, di UGM ada program IUP, dan mungkin mereka dulu waktu SMA juga datang dari sekolah internasional, dan malah, which actually I am like that gitu loh. Gue program internasional, dan sehingga 4 tahun sekolah hukum tuh gue jarang banget yang namanya berinteraksi dengan dokumen dengan bahasa Indonesia. And I found it, adalah periode transisi di mana gue harus, bukannya gue nggak bisa bahasa Indonesia, tapi gue jarang aja nulis dokumen-dokumen hukum dengan bahasa Indonesia, dan itu jadi ada transisi juga tuh, yang namanya gue biasa nulis dengan bahasa Inggris jadi sekarang nulis dengan bahasa Indonesia, karena mau nggak mau semua dokumen yang kita mau pakai di pengadilan itu kan harus pakai bahasa Indonesia. Jadi buat teman-teman yang mungkin kurang terbiasa dengan bahasa Inggris, pastikan terbiasa, setidaknya lu bisa converse lah dalam bahasa Inggris, that's the minimum basis. Tapi buat teman-teman yang sekarang mungkin malah lebih menemukan dirinya sering ngomong bahasa Inggris, jangan lupain tuh bahasa Indonesia. Itu bahasa nggak bakal kemana-mana gitu loh. Lu tetap harus bakal menggunakan itu selama jenjang lawyering. Apalagi even if lo kerja di international firms, lo tetap nggak bisa lari dari penggunaan bahasa Indonesia.
Kalau foreign languages yang lain gimana? Kalau Ilham gimana tuh? Misalnya Jerman gitu.
Other foreign languages. So ya, kalau
penting sih.
Oke, kalau sekarang sih yang gue lihat ya. So our firm is very multi. I mean, we're all Indonesians. Tapi the languages that we speak at the firm itu ada bahasa Inggris, bahasa Indonesia, Dutch, German, and Korean. So those are the 5 languages which we are comfortable in working with at our kantor. So kenapa itu bagus sebetulnya? Knowing a lot of, jadi language itu adalah the communication tool to get to a person's heart and mind. So if you speak with them the language that they're familiar with, itu of course akan very it's gonna be very enak lah, akan enak diterima gitu. Contohnya kita kemarin ada klien Korea, Erin is fluent in Korean, ya mereka sangat nyaman sama kita gitu. We have a Swiss client kemarin, we have a Swiss client, and yeah, our ability to speak German juga ya, it's very diterima dengan sangat baik lah. Tapi on the other hand ya balik lagi bahasa daerah juga penting sih menurut gue. In terms of bahasa, kalau terutama kalau di kantor kita bahasa Minang penting. Itu cuma internal. Cuman kalau untuk eksternal ya contohnya sekarang BUMN kan banyak sekali direksinya itu yang orang Jawa. Jadi bahasa Jawa in that sense kalau bisa ya for conversation wise ya itu akan membuat klien sangat nyaman gitu. So it's a balance of ya balik lagi penempatan diri sih with language ya. But again, gua nekenin lagi ya the more languages you know the better. Namun yang 2 main yang harus dikuasain secara verbal, legal dan menulis yaitu adalah bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia. Yang mana yang lebih penting? Ya sama-sama penting gitu. Karena ya nggak bisa dipungkiri Indonesia adalah negara dengan investment salah satu paling banyak dan ya kita harus bisa bahasa Inggris juga gitu. Okay, so Kiki has messaged me that we should wrap this up.
Sorry, there's a misconception tadi soalnya I had a time zone difference kan, jadi ternyata masih ada around 45 minutes ish, so we can.
Si Daniel memang karena di Bali.
My apologies.
45 minutes, cepet-cepet kalau kayak gitu.
So we have a couple of questions here. Did you want going through it one by one?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Tadi ada yang belum kejawab tuh. Tadi ada dari Yeselia Salim. Question is, mau ditanya langsung atau gimana ini?
Boleh silakan tanya langsung aja lah biar kita bisa lihat. Kalau kayak gitu kayak ngomong sama tembok soalnya.
Dari Prasetya Mulia.
Do you regret working in law firm?
Kiki, did you have a choice?
Wow. Nah. I didn't regret so far, not yet. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Same for me. And that's like menurut gua ya maybe a little bit of a life lesson ya. If you don't like what you do, then don't do it. Karena you wouldn't be able to do it with your heart 100% gitu. If you don't love what you do, contohnya ya gua nggak suka datang ke kantor. Kalau lu udah bangun pagi dengan mindset malas banget hari ini gue harus let's say riset ke BKPM nih lah, mager banget, I don't want to do it gitu. Dan ya itu akhirnya it's not good for your mental state and it's not good for your kantor gitu. Karena you won't be able to put yourself out there to actually do the work. But as for me personally, do you regret working in a law firm, especially KarimSyah? Hell no, I do not regret it. I love it. I love working at my place right now.
Coming specifically from you, yang you have other hobbies lah. kayak misalnya music atau ya rapping, music production gitu. Gimana? How do you think about those side jobs gitu?
Well, I think this question would be very well answered with our next slide.
Oh.
So I think we're just gonna go to this slide, wrap up, and then answer all the questions, if that's okay with you, Ki.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so sekarang jadi dari semua yang kita sudah ngomongin tadi, jadi apa sih sebetulnya what is to consider di saat masuk firm gitu? Ya nggak bisa dipungkirin for all of us, of course, why do we work in the first place is because we need to make a living, ya kan? We need to sustain a living. So salary is important, gitu. There is a lot of kayak sometimes ya lu kan di sini lu dapat ilmu banyak. Ya kalau nanti lu sudah punya anak, nanti anak lu itu nggak bisa dibayar popoknya dengan ilmu, susu nggak bisa dibayar dengan ilmu, gitu. So salary itu sesuatu yang sangat important, substantial. Jadi itu that should be like the basis. Gitu. Nah, on top of salary, apa yang harus lu bisa dapetin? We talked about the big three just now: knowledge, exposure, networking. That is very important as a lawyer. Karena ya contohnya ya selama lu kerja 6 tahun, you're just behind the computer. You do not have practical knowledge in the courts. You don't know what's going on di OJK, for example. You don't know how OSS, BKPM works. Ya itu semua tuh like know-hows of the industry that you need to know. Dan ya balik lagi, lawyer, industri kita itu tentang apa sih? It's about people. Our industry is based on representing people. Mau itu natural persons, mau itu legal persons, you need to know a lot of people. And if you know the saying called Malcolm Gladwell says, network equals to net worth. Gitu. The more people you know, atau the more friendly relations you keep, jangan tambah musuh ya. Kayak kalau musuh lu banyak juga ya kacau juga. Cuman the more people you know in your sector or in the sectors of your clients, of your fellow advocates, of course the better. And that would tie into your personal growth. Kenapa? You need to grow not just as a lawyer, but I would say also as a business person, and as a person, and just personally, you need to have character growth. You need to have those necessary soft skills dan lain-lain. So jangan cuman ngandelin ilmu lu tinggi, tapi salary lu enggak, network lu enggak gitu. So needs to be a balance of this. Nah tadi ties into like tadi si Daniel tanya, what about like if you have other hobbies on the side? Yaitu salah satu consideration yang lumayan besar di bawah ya dibandingin yang lain adalah ya again, working hard is good, but working smarter is better. Kenapa? Why do I say that? Karena ya health wise you need to have enough sleep, you need to be nourished, you need to exercise, you need to have a healthy social circle where you can, socially interact out of work. So you need to have work-life balance, gitu. Or even better, if you don't consider work as work but as something that you love, then you can have work-life integration. You just consider it part of your life, gitu. So this, okay, for me personally, I tend to have work-life integration sih. Karena gue sangat tidak terpisah dari kerjaan gue, even itu on weekends, kadang-kadang, but I don't mind it gitu. It's just, it's part of who I am, and it's part of, because I consider my firm a part of me, and myself as part of the firm. That's it from me. Kiki, maybe you have.
I mean, those are all important, and I think once you know which to prioritize, it can help you to pick what kind of law firm that you want to go gitu loh. So for example, if you're the type of person who prioritize salary above all aspects, kayak ya mungkin lu abis post graduate lu pengen apakah kawin, apakah bayar KPR rumah. Jadi yang paling penting itu adalah salary, ya you try to find a law firm that can accommodate that gitu loh, that offer the highest salary possible. Tapi mungkin kalau that is not your primary priority right now, lu mungkin lebih mau cari ya, apakah itu exposure, apakah itu personal growth, apakah itu work-life balance, ya you try to find other firms that can accommodate that gitu loh. Jadi kalau lu udah fix mau lawyering after law school, you need to consider this gitu loh. What do you want out of lawyering first and foremost? And then you try to find a law firm yang cocok sama your ideal lawyering career. Karena kalau enggak, kalau ujung-ujungnya what you need is higher salary, but the law firm you go to cannot provide you with that, ya you're not gonna be happy. Ujung-ujungnya kerjaan lu juga jadi nggak maksimal. Atau mungkin sebaliknya, yang lu pengen adalah lu belajar, lu lebih tahu, lu punya in-depth exposure kerja sama partner. Tapi ujung-ujungnya lu masuk ke law firm yang lu cuma disuruh nerjemahin dokumen, riset-riset sana-sini. Ya lu juga jadi nggak fulfill your career path. Jadi you need to know what you really want from a lawyering career gitu loh. Apa prioritasnya? Tentunya lu pengen semuanya lah yang balance gitu. Dapat gaji oke, exposure mantap, tapi ya lu harus tahu ya you can't win them all. Nggak semua law firm mungkin bisa nge-provide, mungkin ada, gue nggak tahu, yang bisa nge-provide all of this sebagaimana lo expect. Jadi ya you need to choose kira-kira apa yang lo prioritaskan, dan lo cari sebisa mungkin law firm mana atau tempat kerja mana yang bisa nge-provide with that. Kira-kira gitu sih. And I think we can continue to the question and answer session right now, because I see there's a lot of questions in the chat.
There's a lot of questions.
So let's get through the questions.
Ngobrol-ngobrol lah.
Iya. Ini kita ada pertanyaan dari Raffi Hanif dari UI. Kayaknya mau ke Singapura nih. Raffi, do you mind opening your cam and ask away? Langsung aja.
Enggak, Raffi nggak boleh kalau nggak hidupin cam. Kalau Raffi harus hidupin cam. Udah lama nggak ngobrol.
Ini Raffi Lele.
Ini Raffi Lele.
Kabar lu?
Sore Bang.
Lele.
Izin nanya nih Bang. Jadi sebenarnya apa sih yang ngebedain kerja di law firm Singapura dan kerja di law firm di Jakarta, let's say. Dan kalau misalnya Indonesian graduates pengen ke Singapura, what distinguishes Indonesian graduates from Singaporean graduates? Sekian sih Bang.
Oke. Yang beda sih tentunya aksennya ya. Lu bakal lebih banyak dengar Singlish di Singapura. But no, I've actually had the opportunity to intern in Singapore, so I can share a bit about that. First and foremost, when we're working, kayak waktu kerjanya gimana, I do notice a quite significant difference in terms of culture, yang dimana kita lebih suka nongkrong ketimbang mereka. Kayak di Indonesia kita banyak sering ada ya coffee breaks, sebat di bawah, atau long lunches. I don't see that too often when I intern in Singapore gitu loh. Kayak most of those lawyers, mereka makan langsung naik lagi ke atas, atau bahkan mereka kadang-kadang makan di depan layar mereka, which is kadang-kadang kita juga kayak gitu di kantor kalau emang lagi ada kerjaan yang pressing. Tapi emang culturally, I think I could say kita sebagai anak-anak Jakarta, orang Indonesia terutama yang mungkin dari Jakarta, we have a very strong culture of just duduk-duduk sambil sebat sambil ngopi for an extended time, which I don't find that often when it comes to Singapore law firm. So I could say based on my own experience setidaknya lah ya, Singaporean lawyers, they tend to be more effective in that way because they don't waste too much time cuman nongkrong-nongkrong atau having long lunches, dan mereka juga they despise going home late gitu loh. Even though worksnya banyak dan sometimes ya kadang-kadang kita terpaksa harus pulang jam 4 pagi kayak jam 5 pagi, ya itu juga ada. Tapi if itu bisa dihindarkan dengan stay, nggak keluar makan malam di mana gitu yang atau minum-minum dulu bahkan atau nongkrong-nongkrong dulu, ya they tend to avoid that biar bisa ya, jam 8 pulang lah setidaknya. So slight different when it comes to culture. Now when it comes to the substantive matter, tentunya kita sebagai Indonesian ya mau nggak mau I could term it as a disadvantage. Kenapa ya? Karena kita belajar di Indonesia mengenai hukum Indonesia. We don't actually belajar hukum Singapura. Sedangkan tentunya these Singaporean lawyers, ya mereka they went to Singapore Law School atau Common Law School di Inggris mungkin, atau di UK, Inggris dan UK, atau di Amerika maksud gue, atau di Australia, yang dimana tentunya mereka belajar common law much more comprehensive than we do, ya karena kita terpaksa harus belajar mengenai hukum Indonesia, but civil law juga. So karena di Singapore law firms of course lebih banyak pekerjaan yang melibatkan Singapore law, ya tentunya kita bakal agak ketinggalan di situ. But not to worry sih kalau menurut gue, waktu gue pengalaman di sana, kenapa hukum Singapura itu sangat mudah dimengerti. Bukannya gue menyombongkan diri ya, tapi mereka punya sistem yang dimana setiap undang-undang di website mereka itu gampang banget mengaksesnya gitu loh. Nggak, kalau kita kan agak susah nih, misalnya undang-undang ini udah direvisi tahun berapa, terus waktu kita baca revisinya kan nggak semuanya dimasukin di undang-undang versi terbarunya kan, kita harus cek lagi undang-undang originalnya bilang apa, dan itu biasanya semua di dokumen-dokumen terpisah. Sedangkan kalau di Singapura itu emang all of their acts itu semuanya diaksesnya gampang, kayak mereka udah hyperlink, jadi lo bisa baca komentarnya apa, penjelasannya apa, and it's very accessible lah. Dan tapi mungkin yang kita belum begitu terbiasa itu adalah when it comes to precedents. Common law lawyers, they're very into precedents kan, karena emang for them some precedents are binding. Sedangkan kalau kita kan putusan-putusan pengadilan sebelumnya is not exactly binding, dan kita lebih sering fokus ke hukum positif kita yang ada di undang-undang, yang ada di peraturan, ketimbang kita ngelihat putusan-putusan pengadilan yang sebelumnya, jurisprudensi lah katakanlah. Itu yang mungkin sedikit membedakan. Tapi once you can get used to how they work, how they think, kayak ya mereka kalau ada kasus tuh mereka ada isu apa gitu, mereka kayak apa nih presidennya, coba cari. Sedangkan kalau kita kan tentu lebih ke sebagai di Indonesia, apa nih hukum positifnya, coba cari undang-undangnya bilang apa. So itu mungkin yang harus diganti perspektifnya kalau lu emang pengen kerja di Singapura. Tapi tentunya I have also to say some Singaporean law firms, apalagi yang mungkin punya global reach, mereka juga usually have Indonesian desk. Makanya disitulah Indonesian lawyers could actually be very useful for them, karena Singapore businesses inevitably banyak yang have relationship or interaction with Indonesian parties. Jadi Singapore law firms mau nggak mau banyak juga yang isu kerjaan-kerjaannya itu berhubungan dengan Indonesia dan hukum Indonesia. Jadi ada spotnya, ada opportunities for you guys Indonesians kalau emang pengen coba nyari kerjaan di Singapore law firms, itu pasti biasanya mereka ada lah posisi-posisi tertentunya. Ham, you wanna add on this?
Well, Kiki has been in Singapore and Kiki has sort of practiced in Singapore. But for me, what I see a lot when I see Singaporean law students during moots or like even their grads, their coaches, they're very diligent. They're very diligent and they're very detailed. Their arguments are very coherent, which I think we can learn. Like generally, advocates in Indonesia can learn from them to like, you know, they're very comprehensive aja and thorough. But balik lagi, because I'm a nationalist, they are good in what they do, we are good in what we do gitu. So that's mungkin tambahan dari gue aja sih.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. I mean, I'm also working in Indonesian firm right now. It's just kalau lu pengen cari perspektif lain, buat sekedar tahu lah di sana, kayak why not? If you have the opportunity, why not? Tapi kalau emang you know what you want to do is being a lawyer in Indonesia, ya emang lu harus pentingin ya cari experience di sini gitu. Itu lebih penting tentunya. Kayak kalau lu emang ada niatan-niatan lain, mau coba kerja-kerja di negara lain, ya why not? Tapi kalau emang lu punya objektif buat kerja di Indonesia di jangka panjangnya, ya emang lebih penting lo memulai karir lo di Jakarta dulu, di Indonesia lah.
Okay, thank you for the answers. Selanjutnya, next we have a question from Disti Hernawan from UI. Disti, do you mind opening your cam and ask directly to the speakers?
Thank you, Daniel. Halo Bang Ilham dan Bang Kiki. My question is, rumor has it katanya law firms itu prefer to hire high GPA graduates from prestigious law school. My question is, benar nggak sih kayak gitu? Soalnya even though it's logical, karena kan otherwise gimana cara measure seorang kayak kandidat gitu, tapi it could backfire kan kalau misalnya ternyata high GPA dan background dari universitas yang bagus itu ternyata tidak sesuai dengan kompetensinya. Thank you, Bang.
Okay. That's a very tricky question. Dan yang dulu tuh senior gue ada angkatan 13 bilang kayak gini ke gue. Kayak, ya IPK lu tinggi aja lu susah cari kerja. Apalagi IPK lu rendah. Nah dulu when I was like in law school, itu sering juga gue ya agak takut lah kalau kayak gitu mempunyai IPK rendah. Cuman what I can tell you is this. I have a very close friend. He was my Vismut coach, and he is at a very reputable law firm, international law firm sekarang, if not the biggest. And his GPA, I think itu nggak nyampe 3. Tapi dia muting. He wrote a lot of articles. His English is excellent. I would say much better in terms of like even diction, grammar, vocabulary than mine. And now he is already a very mid-level to senior level associate at a very reputable firm. What I'm trying to say is that, ya memang GPA dan alma mater mungkin merupakan patokan yang benar, yang patokan yang ya lazim dilihat lah. I mean, ya kita kan juga, of course, the first things that we ask adalah lu lulusan mana dan IPK lu berapa dan lain-lain, because it gives us a good indication. But again, sama halnya dengan titles, it doesn't give us a guarantee about the person's ability of working in a team, practical abilities, speaking abilities, dan lain-lain, kan kita nggak tahu. So, at an interview, pastinya we want to see how this person interacts, gitu. What can he sell? If you're asking me to pick someone who has like contohnya IPK 4 sama IPK 3,1, but I can see that the IPK 3,1 works more diligently, is more humble, is willing to learn, udah has a lot of experience in other sectors which might be helpful to him, then I tend to go with GPA 3.1 because masalah law-nya you can teach them. Tapi kalau masalah sifat dan exposure, you cannot teach them. Gitu. So from my perspective, it's a good starting point for recruiters to look at. If you have that, like for example, you're from a good alma mater, I don't know how to define good juga, karena ya balik lagi contohnya ya you apply for a law firm yang mungkin isinya semuanya anak-anak UI, maybe they prefer anak UI for some reasons, and then they prefer you to have a high GPA, ya itu it's a good indicator, but is it a guarantee? Not really. It only gets your foot in the door sih. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I mean, GPA, alma mater, they are the easiest indicators gitu loh. Kayak ini yang paling gampang deh buat law firm or employers to assess a candidate for their position. Tapi ya tadi balik lagi, kalau emang say lu nggak begitu kuat di GPA-nya, ya you have to be able somehow to convince them, ya lu ada other selling points gitu. Maksud gue, GPA is the easiest indicator, but they're not always accurate kan. Kayak mungkin lu pinter banget GPA-nya 4 atau 3, berapa, tapi tahunya lu when it comes to working, maybe you're not so good, I don't know. Nah, tapi on the other side of the coin, if your GPA is not so good, so for the easiest indicator, then you can't show it as a benefit, as an advantage to the employers. You have to find a way to show them that you have other advantages gitu loh. Apakah itu nanti dari sisi waktu interview, apakah waktu lagi di proses magang, lu nunjukin kalau lu bisa go toe to toe with your other peers when it comes to putting the hours, putting the extra work. Ya itu yang juga dilihat sama your employers. Dan apalagi kalau kita udah ngomongin magang ya, waktu lu magang dan sekarang you compete with your fellow fresh graduates, lawyering is a very superficial industry lah. Kayak the decision whether or not to promote a certain intern compared to the other intern is solely based on the employer's preference. Apakah dia bisa kerja sama lu, atau dia malah tambah susah kerja sama lu. Mau GPA lu berapa kayak, mau lu sebenarnya pinter apa, yang dipikirin sama employers tentunya kayak, kalau gue masukin nih anak sini, apakah dia bisa contribute to the firm? Apakah dia bisa ease the burden of the other lawyers? Kalau ujung-ujungnya dia malah mempersulit pekerjaan, ya mungkin lebih kecil kemungkinannya that person will be employed. Tapi kalau dia bener-bener kelihatannya, oh ini gue enak banget nih kerja sama this guy, walaupun dia mungkin pengetahuannya, wawasannya nggak banyak, but he really shows that he really wants to learn, dia kerja keras, he wants to put the hours, ya that could be benefits yang nantinya juga jadi considerations for the employers to pick a candidate for a lawyer in their firm. Paling gitu sih. Tapi ya you can't deny that GPA is the easiest indicator, dan lagi-lagi kata Ilham ya, it's what gets you at the door gitu lah di awalnya. Yeah. Jadi jangan dikambingkan juga.
Iya, yeah, tapi ya balik lagi, kayak menurut gue percuma kalau mamanya IPK lo 4, terus nanti lo interview, terus ditanyain, ya kalau perjanjian di Indonesia itu wajib tertulis nggak, terus nggak bisa jawab, ya itu menurut gue ya sama aja bohong gitu. Kayak ya mau GPA lo 4,5 lah, mau lo valedictorian juga, if you can't like the basics and you're not willing to work hard, ya wis mbuh gitu sih.
Alright, next we have a question dari Claudia Saimindo. Claudia, do you mind asking directly to the speakers?
Okay. First of all, thank you for the presentation. It was very insightful. My question is, how do we, or maybe from your opinion, how do we decide whether to work in law firms or other fields? Or how do we map out our career plan after graduation, since this is hopefully going to be my last semester and I honestly don't know what to do after I graduate.
Okay. My tip would be maganglah sebanyak-banyak mungkin. Jadi magang di law firm, magang di in-house, magang di organization, just to test out what you feel most comfortable with. Karena jujur, kayak dengan magang itu you create this sort of like relationship between you and the job. So you would know sort of like how what is expected of you, what is the kind of work that you do. Karena kalau di contohnya gua itu bisa nyaman dengan KarimSyah itu setelah gua magang di KarimSyah. Karena then I know the work culture-nya seperti apa, what kind of work they do. So I think the key to this adalah magang, just to see, or you could like ask your friends on or seniors on what kind of work that they are doing in each of their respective jobs. And balik lagi, S1 kan bisa banyak sekali ya yang lu bisa lakukan. You can work in-house, you can work as a lawyer, you can work di pemerintahan. So there's so many things that you could do with a law degree. Even you can go into business gitu. So I think if you are at a point di mana you don't know what you want to do, I think it's best to try out as much as you can in your first year after you graduate. See, that's just my personal way of seeing things. I don't know. What do you think, Ki?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the easiest way, not the easiest way lah, the most common approach is lu udah sarjana hukum, ya you go proceed to sectors yang berhubungan dengan hukum, apakah itu lawyering, apakah itu mungkin jadi hakim atau jadi jaksa, mungkin ya something that is very related to hukum. But I don't agree with the idea that you have to be burdened with that expectation gitu loh. Kayak nggak berarti lu ngambil sarjana hukum, terus ya jalur karir lu tuh emang udah terpaku di hukum gitu loh. Kayak how come misalnya kita ngelihat ke seberang gitu ya, sarjana ekonomi yang dimana mereka kadang-kadang pekerjaannya nggak harus sehubungan dengan ekonomi. atau bisnis gitu. And I think as SH ya kita juga janganlah merasa gara-gara kita udah SH kita harus lawyering. Kalau enggak, aduh sayang banget nih gue udah SH masa gue nggak lawyering sih. Kalau emang lu ada opportunities lain yang rupanya itu prospeknya mungkin bisa equally benefiting dan atau mungkin lu lebih semangat melakukannya ketimbang all this traditional lawyering, kerja di in-house, jadi hakim, jadi jaksa, ya why not gitu loh. Kayak it's not like lu 4 tahun sekolah hukum ya cuma dapetnya belajar hukum doang kan, enggak. You actually get other things out from law school gitu loh. Sebagai a person, of course the most simple way setelah law school ya lanjut lawyering yang memang ya itulah jalurnya. Tapi kalau emang lu ngeliat other opportunities other than that, dan lu udah pernah denger lah dari teman-teman mungkin kehidupan seorang lawyer kayak gimana, dan maybe it's not for you, ya I don't see a reason why you have to spend like a year or two just to test out something that you know you're gonna, leave other way. Kecuali lu emang masih penasaran gitu loh, ya nggak apa-apa, coba sekarang. Tapi I don't agree with the notion that you're being burdened just because you're SH, ya lu harus ngikutin jalur di karir hukum. Kalau emang ada opportunities lainnya tentunya. Kalau emang opportunities yang lain juga nggak ada, lu udah SH, ya why not lah. Kayak, after all you did went to law school gitu kan.
Daripada lapar.
Exactly.
All right, hope that helps. And now we have a question dari Raffi Amarendra dari UGM. Raffi? Ini close friend. Gimana Raffi, do you want to ask directly?
Halo Bang.
Halo.
Halo Raffi.
Sebenarnya pertanyaannya simpel aja. Habis lulus sebagai fresh graduate, would you recommend to seek apprenticeship atau cari mentor yang very specific to your interest and what you want, atau langsung kerja aja just for the sake of it? What are your thoughts?
Okay. I think we discussed this pas I was di Jogja ya, Raf. But I still think for me personally, and I know we have talked about like how to choose your law firm in these past slides and this presentation. Tapi kalau gua pribadi itu lebih milih mentor daripada law firm. Karena kalau mentor itu udah pasti I know ilmunya itu gue pasti dapat. Jadi contohnya I want to learn about ADR. Ya gue cari partner in a law firm yang jago ADR dan gue ngintilin terus biar gue dapat knowledge ADR-nya. Kalau for me personally, I would pick a mentor over the prestige of a law firm's name. That's for me personally. Gitu. So I think for me, choosing a mentor or an apprenticeship, so to say, is very important for me.
Yeah, I actually agree with Ilham gitu ya. When I was also in law school, a senior lawyer told me kayak, nanti loh, when you try to find work kayak don't follow a law firm gitu loh, follow a lawyer. Karena ujung-ujungnya what will teach you is not the firm in itself, but it's the specific lawyer yang bakal ngajarin lo ya liku-liku gimana sih jadi lawyer di Indonesia atau dimanapun itulah. There's a very good term that I like when you do apprentice atau internship, try to shadow a lawyer. Maksudnya itu ya, lu ngikutin nih satu lawyer kemanapun dia pergi, cara pikirnya gimana, why did he do this instead of this, biar lu dapat gambaran kira-kira lawyer macam apa yang lu mau you aspire to be in the future gitu. I know it's a bit difficult especially kalau emang you don't have a lot of connections to lawyers di Indonesia misalnya gitulah kayak, tapi it's worth to try gitu loh. When you go internship, you try to find someone that you aspire to follow dan lu belajar dari dia gitu loh. Lu bilang ke dia kayak, hey, I want to learn from you, kayak ya gue pengen tujuan kerja di sini itu ya bukan cuma sekedar kerja di that specific law firm, but to learn from that specific lawyer. Karena ujung-ujungnya bakal ngajarin lo all this stuff ya the person gitu kan, not the firm itself. So Kalau gue sih setuju sama Dio, it's very important to try to find a mentor if possible from a place that you want to work with.
Okay, hope that helps. Hope that answers, Raffi. Aman lah ya. So the next question coming adalah dari Amadea Sembiring. So what makes you choose this career path? Mungkin bisa langsung nanya aja langsung ya Amadea.
Thank you for the insightful presentation. My question is, what makes you choose this career path, considering a law graduate has a lot of options regarding the career field? I mean, you can name it judge, prosecutor, notary, but why you choose the so-called typical law graduate job? Thank you.
Wow, it's nice of you to categorize this as typical. So for me personally, so for me it's a personal reason. I mean, I come from a family of doctors, 4 generations up and 4 generations to the side. And I was on that track as well, and then I started watching Suits, funny enough, when I was in high school. And ever since then, I wanted to be a lawyer, just like Harvey Specter. And it turns out, whoa, it's not like that. Reality check, you know. But at the end of the day, I still really enjoy what I do because, yeah, that has been my dream ever since I was in like 10th grade or 9th grade. Yeah. So for me, it's a personal reason. I don't know. What about you, Ki?
Well, sorry. My laptop's battery is dying. But yeah, I mean, I came from a family of lawyers, fortunately. My father is a lawyer. My grandfathers both were lawyers. My uncles. So, and I didn't mind being a lawyer as well. I quite like it. When I was in high school, I liked the idea of it. So I went to law school, and now I'm a lawyer. It's not the most exciting story, I guess, but yeah. And overall, I enjoy it. So I don't mind continuing it.
Okay, so another question coming up dari Nurul Zamzami dari UI. Hi Bang Ilham and Kiki, about what you do in college years that you would have changed, you want to change if possible. Mungkin Nurul kalau mau nanya lagi langsung aja ya.
Yeah, well, essentially my question is just karena sekarang kan now that you actually work in the field, were there things that you wish you hadn't done, or were there things that you wish you would have done differently, stuff like that? Thank you.
Oh yes, definitely. Yang satu yang beneran, lu ini buat anak-anak UI ya. What I should have done differently was pay more attention to Pak ABC and ABS.
Okay.
Karena Pak gini, persus sama benper itu pentingnya tuh la ilaha illallah. Terus sekarang tuh baru kerasa gitu. Karena because you apalagi yang kalau namanya jaminan ya. Jaminan tuh ada in almost every aspect of law. Mau itu jaminan shipping, mau itu restructuring of debt, mau itu litigation, itu pasti ada jaminan, pasti ada some sort of fiducia. Balik lagi persus. If you're becoming a lawyer in Jakarta, you will deal with a lot of contracts. So perikatan, perjanjian dan lain-lain itu benar-benar harus matang. Dan ya bukannya gua itu pro banget sama PK4 ya. Cuman a lot of work that I have experienced now itu adalah work which yang sangat handy comes in as knowledge adalah ya subjek-subjek PK4. Pas mod investnya Mbak Weni, Bu Yeti, persaingan usahanya siapa? Si Pak Parul. So I think a lot of the PK4 subjects, if you can take them all, if you want to become a lawyer working in the corporate or commercial scheme, PK4 is very, very useful. And I did pay a lot of dan satu hal lagi menurut gua the most important subject di FHUI adalah HOP dan dagang. Itu beneran harga mati karena pasti law firm interview atau tes itu HOP dagang itu udah 100% pasti ditanya. HOP dagang sama persus lah.
ya sama Benper 5 itu. In my opinion, that's what you have to master. The others itu emang additional knowledge which is very useful to have. I don't know. What about UGM, Ki?
Well, during my 4 years of law school, all I did was mooting. I didn't regret that. But if there was something I lacked a bit was hukum acara Indonesia, I guess. Because all I did was mooting and it's just about learning hukum acara internasional. Malah hukum acara Indonesianya, baik itu pidana atau perdata ya. Kalau di UGM kita ada PLKH kan. Mungkin teman-teman yang UGM di sini familiar lah sama konsep PLKH, terus harus monitor ke pengadilan. I skip most of that. I'm not saying I regret that, tapi I probably should have paid more attention to hukum acara Indonesia, so I didn't have to relearn everything when I started working. Apalagi a little bit about pidana ya, because I didn't expect to handle criminal matters when I started lawyering, because the law firm where we're at was actually not known for handling criminal cases generally. Tapi rupanya di tahun pertama gue kerja di KarimSyah, rupanya ada aja nih klien yang minta pidana. Dan karena klien lama ya kita terima, dan gue akhirnya harus ngebuka lagi tuh yang namanya P1, P2, P19, P20, P21, which I totally forgot karena gue nggak pay attention at all on hukum pidana waktu gue di kuliah. Karena gue nggak ngerasa itu bakal kepake. Taunya kepake juga waktu gue kerja. Dan ya you just don't know lah. When you go to a law firm, ya kadang-kadang you find some things yang lu kira di law school lu nggak bakal hadapin gitu. Tapi taunya ya dapet juga.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask follow-up questions actually, or
yeah, sure.
Is that not allowed?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so considering since sekarang aku di semester 5 kan, so like I'm still trying to figure out my peminatan. I've heard a lot of people say that it doesn't matter all that much your peminatan. Like at the end of the day, your goal is just to get that SH and then get out, and then like you're gonna start anew again anyway in the law firm. Like, is that necessarily true, or like does your peminatan actually hold some worth in the law firm? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of seniors have said that to me. Tapi jujur ya, kalau dari pengalaman pribadi sih, gue sangat kebantu dengan gue ngambil PK4. Jujur aja. Apalagi when it comes to like capital markets, dan anything berhubungan dengan PK4, mau itu shipping lah, mau itu perdagin, ya I think it's quite useful to choose your peminatan in accordance with what you want to do at the end. Because if not, it sort of defeats the purpose of you actually studying it. Karena ya harus pragmatis lah. Ya kalau akhirnya mau masuk Deplu ya ambillah PK6. Kalau akhirnya mau jadi scholar di PHI ya ngambillah PK6 privat. Kalau mau kerja pemerintahan ngambillah ya PK-han gitu. Ya kalau gue sih I'm still of the stance yang ngambil sesuai dengan apa yang lu mau achieve nanti.
Thank you.
All right, so I have to remind that we're kind of running out of time. So maybe I'll take the liberty of choosing perhaps one or two questions that would for you to answer. So we have questions about language. We have addressed that previously, that English in Indonesia is very that comes in really handy. Terus ada juga tentang spending time with family, friends, and work. Maybe you want to add more on that, tentang how do you share your time with family, friends, and work in your law firm? Tadi dari Alwi Nurhidayanto.
Well, I can say for Kiki spends most of his time with his family because his family is at the office.
Thank you.
But yeah,
it means when I'm at home, I'm also with my coworkers, so that's it.
Kalau for me, I think it's important to choose suatu kantor yang still gives you that sort of liberty. Kayak contohnya, you have law firms di SCBD yang emang work sampai very late, tapi you get that dinner time, you get the 7 to 9, and then you can have dinner with your fam and then go back to work. Ya sama halnya dengan kita. Contohnya, I had a pengajian keluarga and we were working on a project at that time. ya udah nggak apa-apa, gue bisa cabut dulu and then I continue my work. So it really depends on the firm and it depends on ya terutama seniornya gimana, strict apa enggak. Kalau seniornya yang tipe-tipe ya lu harus di kantor terus, lu harus di kantor, nggak bisa. Ya itu mau nggak mau you have to sacrifice your free time gitu. Dan ya di sini kita nggak bisa ngebedain antara time with family, friends, dan ya your passion gitu. Itu semua considered as free time. Dan ya I guess di tahun pertama kedua it will be quite hard for you to balance it, yang benar-benar balance ya. Cuman as time goes on, the more free time you will get lah, and the better you will be at managing your time. For example, my typical day itu would start 9:30. Kiki, don't laugh. It will start at 9:30. So I wake up in the morning. I have breakfast with my family. I work 9:30 to answer any emails up until 12. After lunch, I start drafting if I need to have drafts or I have meetings. And then I work up to like 5 or 6, 7 to 9. I have dinner with either my friends or just meet up. If I need to be back at the office, I go back to the office. If I can work from home, then I work from home. And that would be like my typical day actually at the firm. So that's how I balance it at least. What about you, Ki?
Pretty much the same thing. I think I can't say much about family because you mentioned that. But when it comes to friends, mau nggak mau sih, it's very different lah when you sit in law school and then you go to work, especially if you work in a law firm yang emang very demanding, I guess. I guess what I did with my friends is that we try to have at least like monthly meeting. Jadi kayak just setidaknya lo masih bisa ketemu lah sebulan sekali gitu. You determine a date, kayak ini kapan nih kita bisa ketemu, kayak karena you can't expect it to be the same thing when you're in law school. You have so much free time, I guess, when you're in law school compared to when you work in a law firm. Tapi I guess it applies not only to law firms. Kalau namanya kita baru-baru mulai kerja kita baru mulai berinin karir, emang awal-awalnya ada adjustment period lah, but then you get by eventually.
Right. Okay, thank you for the answer. One last question before we wrap up dari Ajeng Maya Safitri dari Prasetya Mulya. So I'll just paraphrase the question for convenience. Jadi law firms, dia tanya, will law firms be more interested buat yang udah punya lebih banyak working experience kah, atau yang udah progressionnya kayak master's, graduate student sudah duluan dibanding tapi nggak punya work experience at all? Karena kan sekarang udah banyak orang yang langsung dari S1, dari SH langsung ambil LLM atau S2 begitu. Which one is more preferable for law firms?
Generally speaking, yang abis SH langsung LLM, balik lagi ke Jakarta, they start at the bottom juga. Generally, that's the case for most law firms, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it gitu. But for me, for the kind of work that I'm doing right now, if I have an intern and the intern itu udah jauh lebih experienced in Indonesian courts, for example, depending on the work that the firm is doing, we would choose someone with more experience in that level gitu. Karena balik lagi, kita nggak bisa ngandelin suatu LLM untuk melancarkan contohnya enforcement suatu arbitral award di PN Jakpus. Tetap aja gue butuhnya litigator handal yang contohnya udah kenal sama jurusitanya, yang udah kenal sama paniteranya. So in that sense, I think I would need somebody yang lebih practically skilled. Tapi not to dismiss any LLM ya. Kayak gue sendiri, gue juga masih pengen LLM. Tapi it depends on the firm and it would depend on the type of work yang lagi dibutuhkan gitu. Tapi biasanya juga, mereka gue tekenin SH LLM yang langsung LLM-nya habis SH ya, have no prior work experience, itu biasanya startingnya sebagai intern juga gitu, sama dengan batch yang baru fresh lulus SH. What do you think, Ki?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know my stance on this. So,
siap.
Tapi kalau menurut gue sih, kalau emang tujuannya lawyering ya, emang kalau my personal opinion, it's much better to start immediately after law school gitu loh. Jangan nunggu S2 dulu. Malah menurut gue S2 itu nanti bisa digunakan once you're working for 3 years, 5 years. Pertama, itu sebagai break Because lawyering is generally tiring. You need a break, and a 1 year spending time in other countries. Kalau lu emang mau LLM di luar, atau mungkin sekedar ya lu ngambil setahun lah, lu meninggalkan dulu namanya pekerjaan lawyering, sekedar balik lagi ke sekolah, could be very benefiting for you. Dan selain daripada bagian situnya, juga di bagian specialization-nya gitu loh. Of course, once you udah kerja berapa tahun di law firm atau di mana, lu mungkin lebih punya gambaran kayak what you really want to excel in. What kind of specialization you think will be very benefiting for you di kedepannya. Nah, jadi itu mungkin bisa ngebantu juga untuk milih, lo kira-kira mau S2-nya apa. Dan nanti S2 ini bisa dihubungkan lagi dengan pekerjaan lo. Kalau emang lo pengen balik lagi ya ke pekerjaan lawyering, yang gimana nanti after lo S2, your lawyering career itu bisa lebih dibantu lagi dengan S2. So, I personally really think S2 mendingan jangan dilakuin duluan sih. Mendingan dilakuin belakangan. Or not at all.
Iya, jadi kayak enak kan ya, udah kerja 4 tahun, terus ya contohnya liburan kerja bareng sama istri gitu ya Ki. Maksud lu gitu kan? Bareng sama istri gitu kan, keluar negeri santai-santai dulu setahun.
Bisa.
Udah ada plan ini kayaknya. Alright, so thank you for the answers and for the questions, everyone. So I think it's time for us to wrap up. Maybe I would like to sum up 3 key takeaways from today's webinar.
Sorry Dan, sebelum lu lanjut. Kalau ada yang mau magang, ya Ki, boleh ya Ki, mereka kirim CV aja ke salah satu dari email kita, atau if Kiki doesn't prefer itu ya kirim ke gua aja. Because Kiki hates dealing with admin. So if you guys want to magang at our firm, please do send an email to me with your cover letter, your CV, and please have an email body because I've received emails yang nggak ada email body-nya, mereka cuma attach CV sama resume, CV sama cover letter, tapi nggak ngomong apa-apa di emailnya. Terus lu mau ngapain gitu? Kayak gue nggak tahu juga. So please, you can send it to my email, and yeah, Daniel, it's yours.
All right, thank you, bro. Noted, well noted. So yeah, 3 key takeaways from today's webinar. First, from what we've heard, lawyering is certainly not an easy path. It takes a lot of our time and hard work alongside passion and courage to succeed. Jadi don't expect that you're gonna make a couple of racks in a few months. Dapat gaji gede itu nggak cepat lah. So second, for us aspiring lawyers, we need to be not only textbook smart but also street smart. So kata Ilham tadi, get to know a lot of people, the right people, but be in the right place and the right time. And thirdly, figure out which practice area you want, tapi jangan pernah takut buat coba hal baru and push yourself. Get out of your comfort zone, figure out places, tapi selalu perhatiin formal steps yang diperluin supaya kalian bisa qualify sebagai advokat. At the end, it must be a highly satisfying journey buat sampai dapat kartu pradi dan disumpah. All right, once again, I would like to thank KarimSyah Law Firm for supporting this event. Thank you, Ilham, Kiki, for sharing your knowledge and experience. Makasih banget udah luangin waktunya untuk kita-kita yang masih junior dan butuh guidance ini. So I hope this webinar helps us all prepare, me included, to embark in a lawyering career and succeed in this field. So thank you everyone for participating.
Sama-sama, Daniel. For anyone else, if you have any other questions, you can feel free to pop a question to me or to Dio. Yeah, we'll be glad to converse about it, man.
Thank you very much. All right, so I will hand it back to you, Farah. Have a nice weekend all, and stay safe. Bye-bye. So, Farah?
Hi, yes. So thank you, Daniel, and thank you again to Ilham and Bang Kiki. I'd just like to extend my gratitude on behalf of ILMS FH UI for your participation in today's webinar, as well as to you, Daniel, for moderating. I'd just like to thank all the participants for attending today's webinar, and I hope that you've gained some insight with regards to the world of lawyering through today's webinar. I'd just also like to inform participants that e-certificates will be sent within the following week to your respective email addresses. And we do look forward to seeing you in future ILMS events, such as our Moot Court Academy coming up soon for our UI students. And please stay tuned for any announcements on Moot Court selections in the upcoming weeks or months. So if you have any other questions, feel free to contact the ILMS committee. And please look forward to our ILMS Chronicle as well, where we post regular articles on the latest issues of international law. And any more information with regards to the events and to ILMS Chronicles can be found on the ILMS FH UI Instagram page. So thank you